It's 2:04. It's 2:04 p.m. Wednesday, November 17th. In compliance with Public Law 24-109, Guam Ancestral Lands Commission published a public meeting announcement for Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. The Pacific Daily News on Wednesday, November 10, 2021, and Monday, November 15th, 2021. Director, roll call.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, Chairman Eclavea,
Present.
Vice Chairman Laguardia,
Castiga,
Secretary
Present.
Treasurer Cruz,
Here.
Commissioner Camacho. I don't see Commissioner Camacho. Hopefully she'll be logging on soon. Commissioner Orlino. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Orlino called in stating that she will try to log in as soon as she can. Her husband's having is scheduled for eye surgery today. I do see Commissioner Camacho logged in. So Commissioner Camacho's roll call.
Here.
Commissioner Rios
here.
and Commissioner Westling. Again, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Westling contacted us to inform us that she has a conflict with her work schedule. She will attempt to log in if possible later on. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Okay, very good. So Juice Masi, Director. Okay, we move on to the minutes. Item 3.
Am I on mute?
It's me.
How shall we move on with the minutes? I know it was very extensive, that meeting we had. So we just continue reviewing and somebody make an approval? We need more time to review? I'm okay with the minutes. Commissioner Cruz?
If everybody has gone through the minutes, because I went through it earlier, if you're ready, I'm making a motion to approve the September 22nd meeting, subject to any corrections.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of September 22nd. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have seconded by Commissioner Camacho. So let's move to a vote. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? No nays? The minutes are approved. Motion passes. Okay, we move on to I guess it's Executive Director's Report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The following are updates for the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. First will be the Coast 360 account balances and draft resolution that's attached as attachment A, draft resolution 2021-009. Two of the commission's share accounts at Coast 360 will be maturing on December 6, 2021, and another will be maturing on December 18, 2021. Because of the low interest rates, I'm recommending to close after maturity and open new accounts for a period of 3 months with automatic rollover for accounts 0401, account 0403, account 0408 from the Land Bank Trust Fund and the Trust for Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, inclusive of the principal and all interest earned. More specifically, after maturity, close account 401 from the Land Bank Trust Fund and deposit $551,645.69 plus all interest earned to a 3-month jumbo term share with automatic rollover. And the next one is after maturity, close account 403 from the Land Bank Trust Fund and deposit $325,154.11 plus all interest earned to a 3-month jumbo term share with automatic rollover. And lastly, after maturity, close account 408 from the Land Bank Trust Fund and deposit $2,490,000 plus all interest earned to a 3-month jumbo term share with automatic rollover. Again, this is because the reason we're doing this is because the interest rates are real low now, and we want the opportunity within a short period of time to transfer these to accounts that will earn, or to invest it in opportunities that will earn us more or better interest than what we're currently earning. So I've attached for your review the account balances in attachment B on my report and attachment C, which shows the term share rates within Coast 360. And I've attached as attachment A the draft resolution, which I would ask you to take action on because these accounts will mature early next month. And I'd like to exercise within the 10-day grace period to make these transfers. Otherwise, they will roll over into long-term shares at extremely low interest rates. Okay, so I'll move on to unless you want to take action now, Mr. Chair.
Why don't we finish and then we'll take action after you completed your
Okay.
your report.
Okay, I'll continue on. So the next one will be on draft resolution 2021-10 or -010. The chairman requested a resolution be prepared reaffirming the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Board of Commissioners support for the ancestral landowners or their heirs. So attached to that is now attachment D, and I'll read it out for you to read it into the record. It'd be the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Resolution number 2021-010, which is our mission statement. it states, whereas the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission was created by Public Law 25-45 on the 9th of June, 1999, and whereas Public Law 25-45 intended to pursue just remedies to redress the harm done to landowners as individuals and to Guam as a whole, resulting from the taking of ancestral lands by the United States federal government and the government of Guam on or after January 1, 1930. And whereas Title 21, Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 80, and Public Law 25-45 specifically describes original land as land which was confiscated or condemned by the United States of America or the government of Guam on or after January 1, 1930, and to which a prior private ownership interest was held by a resident of Guam on January 1, 1930. And whereas Public Law 25-45 created the Land Bank Trust, transferring former Spanish Crown lands and other non-ancestral lands to the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. And whereas the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, in accordance with Title 21, Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 80, and Public Law 25-45, has the responsibility for the return of excess government lands to its original landowners, except in circumstances when land is clearly under existing public use or lands or Spanish Crown land. And whereas the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Board of Commissioners, in accordance with Title 21, Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 80, and Public Law 25-45, is composed of 7 members who are residents of Guam and descendants or heirs of ancestral landowners, and whose mission is to facilitate and expeditiously return all excess U.S. federal and government of Guam lands back to its original landowners. And whereas on November 17, 2021, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Board of Commissioners met at a regular meeting via Zoom teleconference to discuss the desire of Guam ancestral land claimants to lay a meritorious claim to just compensation as defined in Section 80101 of Public Law 25-45. And whereas on November 17, 2021, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Board of Commissioners at the regular meeting via Zoom teleconference by unanimous vote passed a motion to reaffirm its mission statement. Now therefore be it resolved, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Board of Commissioners attest to the reaffirmation of its mission statement pursuant to Title 21, Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 80, and Public Law 25-45, which defines the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission as lands claims facilitator, mandates the establishment of a land bank trust, and compels just compensation as return of ancestral lands and/or monetary compensation by 1, facilitating the return of excess U.S. federal and government of Guam lands to their original landowners, and 2, pursuing and advocating for the rights of original landowners and their heirs, and the return of excess U.S. federal and government of Guam lands to the original landowners, and 3, maintaining a land bank trust for those dispossessed original landowners who would never realize the return of their ancestral lands. So saith the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission and its chairman, secretary, and treasurer, and executive director, this 17th day of November in the year of our Lord, 2021. And that, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'm requesting for action to be taken.
We have a quick discussion on the resolution.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
So, okay, board members, do you have any input?
Mr. Chair?
Vice Chair?
Yes, sir. I just have a question with regards to the memorandum that was sent to us by our director with regards to those listings of lands that was provided to us. Through my understanding, there was a list of properties that was already designated to be released back to the government of Guam. Now, how long ago was that list provided Two,
Okay, the list, the last list we had prior to the more recent one was July 2nd, 2020. And more recently, what we just received, but the letter was written in January 15, 2021, had an amendment or some changes to it. We actually didn't receive that until about a few weeks ago. And during that time, I informed the commissioners that we only have one land agent and he was out with the coronavirus for a couple of weeks. And he's back with us today. He's healthy and none of the rest of us got infected nor any of his family. So it's unsure how or when he got the coronavirus. But we've been going over that since then, and there have been minor changes in the latest one that we've received. Well, minor, it could be a major one when we come to Eagles Field, that general area that is highly contested today. Because in the original one, I believe only 50 acres were listed as possible returns, but today, the latest information we have indicates that there is potential for 102 acres to be returned. That's new information to Guam Ancestral Lands.
thank you for that, but may I ask who were the responsible individuals who participated in the amendment of that original July 2nd, 2020 list?
We're not involved in that part. That is with a group that's higher than Ancestral Lands. I believe you would have to talk to individuals in the governor's office and or maybe GITA and or maybe the Department of Land Management. Basically, Ancestral Lands will receive the notices from the Department of Land Management because according to the law, the Director of Land Management is to reserve all properties that are to be returned and to transfer them to the Guam Ancestral Lands after it had gone through another process. So we're not part of that process. So I have no idea who the individuals are.
Okay. Thank you for that information because, you know, as far back to my recollection, those listings had been identified by the former Congresswoman, Madeline Bardallo, and she had indicated to us that those lands were to be released to the original landowners. So I just would like to, you know who are the possible individuals involved in the amendment. Because, you know, my stake on this is, as you know, as heirs of original landowners, as a commission member, I am really concerned with regards to how the some of these lands are being attained generally. So that's just my point there, Mr. Director and Mr. Chairman and the members of the commission.
So Jules Masi, Vice Chair. Director, I just want to clarify, when you said return 102 acres, when you say
It's
return.
potential, not to be, it's not transfer in progress. It's a potential. It means it's a possibility that it would be. That's on a new list that we've acquired a few weeks ago. But the one that we were working off of was from July 2nd, 2020, which indicated about 50 acres in that location.
I see. So when you're saying 102 acres return, are you saying actual return or is it partial
No,
return?
potential.
And then
Possible.
So with regards to the Eagles Field one, that's not really a return. It's a lease, right? It's a lease.
It's scheduled to be a lease, but there's more to it than that. Because I could show you on the screen where it says it falls under US Public Law 106-504. And
Okay.
that US public law has a major implication. It's something beyond what local law carries. The local law kind of stretch US Public Law 103-339. where for many years, we have been able to transfer property in general to the original landowners. And the consensus has been throughout those years that the federal government would not retake the land. Well, the way I'm reading it, the US Public Law 106-504, which was passed in the year 2000, plugged that loophole. There's a couple of sections in there that are very critical to us that I've been reading about. And that area.
Can you put it up on the screen as like you said you were, you can? move?
Okay, let me grab the public law and put it up. First, let me do a screen share view and I'll show you that under the potential lots, under the latest list that we have. Let me do a screen share and I'll explain it to you. Could you see the screen now?
I see it.
Okay, I
Yes.
can make it, enlarge it.
It looks good right now.
That's good.
Okay,
There,
anyway,
yeah,
right
that's
here where the
there.
cursor is going. This is the lot in question up at Eagles Field, right? Portion of lot A7 and B, Anderson Baragata Annex. Acres 102.20. The partial will be 16. The approximate is 310 acres to 102 of 310 acres are potentially to be transferred. Falls under US Public Law 106-504. It does not fall under Public Law 103-339. And that's a major thing to be aware of. Let me bring up that public law. If I can bring it up.
And that's 106-504, right?
Yes, this is what I need to show you.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'll highlight the sections here. First is conditions of transfer, where it says any transfer of excess real property to the government of Guam may be only for a public purpose and shall be without further consideration. Then you go down on that same thing to further down to D, where I highlighted, and it says the property is used only for a public purpose and cannot be converted to any other use. That to me plugs up the loophole. Now, I'm not an attorney, but we do have our attorney, Nick Tuff here, who can probably read through that. I don't know if he's aware of this thing. I have not asked him it, but I've been going over this the past few days since we've gotten the new information that we've received. And what this does pretty much is cut ancestral lands out of any properties being returned under US Public Law 106-504, specifically by that statement, cannot be converted for any other use. I'm not sure if our local policymakers, the legislature can assist us to find a way to get around this, but this is where we would have to turn to them for help. Well, we need people that can see if there's a way around that. But there might be other ways to try to compensate those people whose properties are scheduled to be leased. And that is by probably amending the law to include leased properties into the land bank. And that's something that we could work into the land bank rules and regulations. So I'm not sure if any of the commissioners were aware of these sections, but you are aware of it today.
Any questions from the board?
I have a question, Mr. Chair, Mr.
Vice
Director.
Chair?
Yeah, if I may, is that July 2nd, 2020 original listing available for us to
I have it.
view?
Yes, okay, let me pull that up. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, and here now is the lot in questions, if that's what you want to talk about, under Eagles Field, where it was listed as 50 acres previously, where today I showed you the difference was 102. And it's still a potential. It's not a transfer in progress at this point. It's one that may possibly be transferred.
Okay.
So yeah, there are
Also-
some changes.
Okay. Also, I have a question also on what about that Nimitz Hill Annex C-2? That's up there at,
Right here.
yeah, that one, yes.
It's
Where is
highlighted,
that
Nimitz Hill
particularly look?
Annex.
Yeah, that,
And that's
yeah,
where I
that
have to
Nimitz Hill
ask-
Annex. Go ahead.
Joey? Joey, can you explain that? I know the general location, but Joey has a specific
Okay.
location.
Yes, I don't know if I can describe it correctly, but there's a water reservoir near the
Oh, okay.
local family.
Yeah, Joy, you're breaking up, Joy?
Yes, so this property is located near the Angopo family up at Nimitz Hill.
So that's their family property.
Yes.
Am I correct? Am I correct? Okay.
Well,
Okay.
we anticipate the Angopo to be filing a claim if it's ever transferred to Ancestral Lands Commission.
Okay,
So that's Nimitz
Okay.
Annex C-2,
yeah,
and that's also scheduled, supposedly scheduled to be released.
It's a potential
Potential.
transfer.
Potential,
Potential.
which is the case with all of these listings, right?
No,
Yes.
some are transfers in
Well,
progress.
Some
Some
are
of them
in
are in
transfer.
progress.
You
Okay.
can see up here where I highlight transfer in progress.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
See,
Okay.
yeah,
But what you also have to pay attention to is the transfer authority at the end in the last column, where some are 106 and some are 103. And some fall under other laws too. It's the 106 I'm concerned about. And when you talk about Nimitz Hill Annex,
yes.
that falls under US Public Law 106-504.
Transfer authority.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
I figured you all be interested in that because this issue has not come up in the past on any of us. And I felt it was very important to alert you to this at this point. Especially because of the issue that has been raised with the Radio Barragata area where Eagles Field is located.
Yes.
yeah.
And of course, we do have that oversight hearing coming up tomorrow, and that comes up later in the in my report.
Do you have copies of those US public laws for the transfer authority by any chance?
Yes, yes, we'll send them off to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for our director, real quick.
Yes.
Okay, regarding the two public laws, can you mirror the two?
103 and
segments, the two-
106?
Mirror the section that you just presented to the board with regard to what you wanted the board to be aware of with regard to the difference between 103-339 and
What,
106-504.
basically 106 plugs the hole that we were, the way I see it, of what we had available to us under Public Law 103-339. I see this as closing up the hole or the loophole that we had available to us to transfer property back to the original landowners. I'm hoping that our oversight chair could help us out with this and discover a way to help us still be
Well,
able to do what we're assigned to do.
Yeah, that's why I would like to see the difference between that and 103.3,
Yeah,
103.39.
I don't know if I can put them both-
103.39, yeah, what would be plugged up with regard to that as opposed to 103.39? What would be plugged up? That's what my,
Well, this is, well, 106 is, see, 103 had a loophole in it that we exercised over the many years and also over the transfer of many property transfers.
Well,
And this
let's see
pretty
the
much
loop.
closed that.
Okay, let's see the loophole.
Uh,
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I think he's referring that the main
begin-
difference is 103 is for public use versus the others, which would give out return lands to the original landowners. That's how I see it.
Well, I want,
Am I correct?
I'd like to see it.
Public Law 103-119 identified excess parcels that were to be used for public benefit use. And then what happened was the Guam legislature did not agree with, because it did not mention that the land shall be returned to the original landowners. So the Guam legislature did not agree with that, and they came up with, and they passed Public Law 22-145. And basically it was to create a land use plan that defined the return of land to the original landowners as an economic benefit that met the requirements of public benefit use under the federal law. That was the loophole that the Guam legislature discovered back and was able to use in 1996. So the later law that came up, this one here I believe attempts to eliminate that. But then again, that's where we have to turn that over to legal, but it's a concern I have because that's something I hope that our oversight chair and other senators will be aware of, because that would, if it does what I think it does, then it essentially eliminates these properties from being transferred by the Department of Land Management over to the Guam ancestral lands. It removes it from our jurisdiction. We would need more clarification on that. That's what I'm trying to say. But to put both up, my screen would reduce it kind of small. I don't know if you'll be able to read that if I put the other one up right next to it. But I do have it on my.
Okay,
I do have it here
no.
somewhere.
I'd just like to add a couple of things, Director, real quick regarding this.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, no, actually I got on a question regarding,
Okay.
regarding this one that's up right now. That's 106, what is it?
Yes, it is 106 U.S. federal law, Public Law 106-504, passed by the
Yes,
106th
okay.
Congress.
Now, from what I understand, this requires a land use plan, just like the first one, correct?
Maybe might need an amendment somewhat, but the first one had that, and that's where we were able to transfer.
No,
properties.
what I'm saying is that it was required by Public
Yes.
Law 103, yeah, right? So
I'm
this
not sure
one,
if this one requires one.
okay, oh, you're not sure if it requires it? Can we verify that sometime?
We would need our attorney to review it.
Yeah,
I'm not an attorney,
because
but
from what I understand, the previous one required a land use plan.
it did. Yes, you're correct.
That would have met the requirements of 10339-9. Okay, so basically the legislature, what they did was said, this is how it's gonna be, benefit public use. So I'm thinking
Yes.
that they could do this, I'm not the lawyer, but I'm thinking that they would need to provide a land use plan as well and give the same land use plan. Because they have to submit that to Congress. And
I hope
Congress
that
could
can
have,
be done.
yeah, and Congress could have rejected it. But a requirement was a public land use plan that met the requirements of that federal law. And if it did not, they would have rejected it. So that's how these lands ended up coming up into ancestral lands, because they did not reject it, they accepted it. And these lands ended up coming to ancestral lands. So you're right, Director, we should take a look at that and see if the same thing could be applicable to it, because that's what they did, a land use plan, and outline how it's going to benefit the public. And you're right in citing how they did it. That's correct.
Yes, so this one just appears to close the loophole. We'd have to look into it further. This is all new information to us by going into the Eagles Field and trying to investigate what's going on with it, and how can we get the properties, or at least to include the original landowners. If we can't get the property back, but to include them into the land bank. And the sad thing is that we have very few staff here at Ancestral Lands. And you're all aware that we were short-staffed over the last 2 weeks because of the coronavirus and how it affected our office here. And when all of this came to being. So we're still researching it and going through it. I just need you to be advised that because of Public Law 106 versus US Public Law 103, that there are these issues that we should address. And if not, and if we can't come up to some resolution on it on our side to see how we can continue to transfer properties received by the government of Guam back to the original landowners, maybe we could work with the legislature to have them amend the original plan and somehow find a way to work this. Otherwise, Ancestral Lands is going to be cut further out of the loop if we're to abide by what I'm interpreting as a layperson, Public Law 106-504, just by that statement that you see that's highlighted. So yeah, that is a major concern that we should consider.
Yeah, public purpose and public benefit are two different terms.
Exactly. And what they say under Part D that I have highlighted and cannot be converted for any other use is a major issue. So I just thought you all should be aware of that.
I'm sure this is probably going to be brought up in tomorrow's hearing.
It's going to be brought up at tomorrow's hearing.
Yeah,
we're going to need help to
and
work that through.
This is notwithstanding the lease side of the portions. So this is the other parts of the property that's not part of the lease. Yeah.
I didn't like bringing this up at this time, but I think it's something that's extremely relevant to what we're being faced with at this time.
It is
trying
critical.
to make sure. Well, and plus we, Mr. Chairman, you asked me to draft that resolution to reaffirm our mission and our support. And as I was doing that, I was researching the laws and, well, you're seeing the result of it. We do want to stick to our mission. We do want to assert our support for the original landowners and or their heirs, but we do have some issues to work through.
Very good, Director. I appreciate the information. Do we have any more questions from the board regarding what was just presented?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Rios?
Half a day.
There you are.
Mr. Director, thank you for that report. I'm just, I'm trying to understand that thoroughly, but I think, so if from what you presented, are you saying that the Eagles Field was returned under 106 and because that is property that was not listed by
It's not returned yet.
Excess returns?
It's not returned yet.
I see.
It's,
But I guess
here's it on the screen. It's a potential transfer. But just for the heads up, if you look at the last column, it falls under Public Law 106-504. And that's why I wanted to alert you to what that public law states. Is that even if it is returned to the government of Guam, it will not fall under the jurisdiction as I see it with Ancestral Lands.
Okay, but that's not even the case, right, Mr. Director?
It's not the case as yet because that property is to be
leased.
leased as far as we're aware of as of today. It's not being returned, it's going to be leased. But it is listed now under the new information that we got over the last few weeks to be a potential transfer. And it has increased from the original 50 acres to 102 acres out of the 310 acres available or in that lot up there.
Okay.
So I just need you to be aware of that because I believe this is going to come up and this is going to be probably the main event at tomorrow's oversight hearing is this one particular lot. I just needed you to be aware of that public law, the US public law.
Okay. Okay, so I was just trying to understand that there were certain portions of property that were established and these certain particular properties that fell under 103-339
Yes.
are the ones that we should be concerned about. And
Yes.
that all other properties, once, if they are returned, and they fall under 106-504, what this is saying basically is that we are not obligated to return that property because it is clean and clear that that property is not to be for any other purpose besides government use. Is that what you're saying?
Any other purpose than what the transfer conditions or the deed, the conditions written into the deed state.
Okay.
And it states that clearly it cannot be used for any other purpose other than that. And we were able to work around that under the old US Public Law 103-339. The legislature found a way to work around that by coming up with legislation that allowed us to do so. But I haven't seen any such legislation or any way around 106 as of yet. So hopefully we can get advice. And that is something that I guess legal and or our legislature can assist us with. As I know, all our intentions here is to, whatever excess property is returned, that we get as much of it as possible back to the original landowners.
Okay, and
And that's
also,
what is stated in our mission statement that I just read earlier.
Yeah.
Under that resolution.
okay, and so, and just for the sake of understanding it again, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record here, but so 106-504 is what the Eaglesfield property falls under, which is not even doesn't even fall under this law because it's not returned property. It's leased property. So the government of
Yes.
Guam is leasing this property from the federal government for the hospital. That's
Yes,
what I'm understanding, correct?
correct. But it
Okay.
is listed as a potential transfer. That means that it could be returned.
Right, but because it falls under 106-504, it's
It
gonna
won't
be
come to
returned, but
ancestral
for
lands.
public use, correct?
It,
Okay.
it would
thank
be
you.
returned to the government of Guam, and I don't see it being returned to the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. I'm just saying that I see that US public law places it outside of our jurisdiction as an agency, but not the government of Guam itself.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Director.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So Juice Master Commissioner, any other questions?
One last question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Vice
Mr.
Chair.
Director. With regards to the potential transfer again with at the initial letter, there were supposedly 50 acres up to about 310 acres. Is that Barragata Annex location of properties was the location of where they were supposed to use that for a high school? Am I correct?
Are you talking about GCC or the school?
No,
up
no,
north across-
at DOE, I believe that area was supposedly designated some
Okay,
part
Joey
further up for
Joey might
for the
know more about
department, yeah,
that. Joey?
yeah, for the Department of Education to build a high school there.
If you're
That's why it
talking about-
became a potential transfer.
Is it for I think that's the property up at Marble Bay. Where they were.
Yes, I heard about that one. Yeah, I heard about that one, but I thought there was that area also,
No, I haven't heard of any plans of.
not that area.
School there, not,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
closest to that area was the GCC. They're supposed to start a campus, but because they exercised the reversionary clause, and then the federal government turned around and it was returned and given to Guam Ancestral Lands. That's where we opened the easement through, heading up in that direction, close to and next to the Rodriguez property.
okay,
There was going to be a school campus in that location, but that
Okay.
was Guam Community College, not DOE.
okay.
Okay, I'm,
Commissioner Rios?
Wait, I'm sorry. There was, were you referring to the charter school?
Maybe yeah.
There was a charter school, but that was not in that area though.
Yeah, I thought the charter school was up in Tamuni or somewhere. Yeah.
There was a plan to build a charter school, but near the golf course, close to the golf course.
golf course. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Rios, you had your hands up.
I did, thank you, Mr. Chair. So that property that was first originally established for GCC but did not happen, what transfer authority was that property under? Was that, I mean, I'm just curious if that was under 106 or 103? Because then if it was 106, does it just have to be issued for a government purpose for up to 10 years? And then after 10 years, it falls under 103?
That was
that simply-
non-ancestral land, that, as far as we know. Although there are some people that are, I believe, claiming to own part of it. So that would not be returned to the or any original landowners.
Okay, but so there wasn't any property of such that I'm.
Joey, can you verify that to see if I was
Joey,
correct in my
do you
response?
recall anything like that where property was it was ancestral land property or belonged to it belonged to a family, and then the property was designated to be used by GCC or UOG. Nothing happened with that property, and that's how they were able to exercise the clause for the return, and then ended up receiving the property. Is that such a case?
Can I
And if
add to
so,
that
I'm
real
just
quick?
curious, you know.
Yeah, Commissioner Rios,
you.
I think, Joey, I think he's referring to the one we had to return back in 2003 or 4 because
Yeah,
of
so it's a
Pomsonwa.
GCC property.
And JFK was looking to build a school, and then we had the lands and we have to return that. That's Marble, I believe he's talking about. Can you
No,
give
no,
us
no.
an update on that?
No, he's talking about GCC, and so with GCC, the land went directly to GCC, and GCC was able to have any restrictions or conditions removed, and because of that, the legislature said, okay, then we can go ahead and, because they haven't built the campus, they went ahead and transferred the land to ancestral land. Because again, because GCC was able to get all the conditions removed from the transfer. So it's a special case.
Yes, I recall that, Joey, very well. And yes, we did transfer the lands back to the original landowners, correct?
Yeah, correct. Because again, GCC was able to request for the condition that a school be built and, you know, only for public purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Rios?
I guess what I'm trying to get at is what transfer authority did that property fall under is my question. Because I can see a property maybe being returned and then the property falling under 103, which would give us jurisdiction to return the property to the original landowners if the government did not see it fit for government use. But if the property was originally under transfer authority 106-504, then I don't see how would, I mean, does it have to go through legislature for that to change? If that's the case, then, you know, maybe we can do that to all of these that under US Public Law 106-504. I don't know. I'm just curious to know what transfer authority that property was and how, and they were successful at getting it back because maybe GCC did not decide to build what they were supposed to build. So I was just curious on the transfer authority. So we're not sure about what transfer authority.
Joey, do you have an answer to that real quick?
It's okay.
How they got the property in the first place? How GCC got the property in the first place?
So the deed says the Federal Property and Administrative Services Act of 1949. So again, GCC.
So that's how GCC got the property.
Yes, it went directly to GCC with conditions that a school be built. But then again, later on, GCC was able to get those conditions removed, and the United States agreed. So there was no more conditions on the property. And because they didn't build the school, the legislature went ahead and transferred the land from GCC to ancestral land, and With that, there's no reversionary restrictions or clauses or conditions on it because those
Okay,
were removed.
okay,
by the
there,
United
there,
States.
so Commissioner Rios, he's saying that it was a 1940s transfer, 49, I believe.
Services Act of 1949, and I can email that. I'll email that to everybody.
Oh, okay, thank you, Joey. I appreciate it. I'm just, I was just curious on the whole, I'm trying to understand the transfer authority.
Well, it's good you brought it up, Commissioner Rios, because that brought up my curiosity too.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Joey, can you give a quick update then on the Marble one regarding that reversionary clause that the military is trying to do, or did they use it and did it go back to the military? Can you give us a quick update on that?
It says, again, based on the information that's available to us, they still are looking at the reversionary clause. They want to take it back. That's again, that's just based on what's available to us. They still want that 80 acres back. Because
I know that DOE made an objection to it. So they're still in that phase, or did they actually execute the reversionary clause?
it hasn't been executed yet. Again, it's just, but they are looking. They do want to get it back.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the update, Joey.
Okay.
It's already it's already fenced up already.
If it's fenced up, is that by the military, meaning they
Yeah.
actually they executed the reverse?
Yep. Yep. The way I see it, Mr. Chairman, they shut down that whole area. That's right across.
Okay, I'd like to
the,
get a confirmation on that sometime in the future, guys. If that's
Okay,
possible.
That's right across the
Hey, Joey?
Chico Fire Station.
Yeah, that's the property I'm talking about. Let's see if
Yeah,
if we
see-
can get an update.
Oh,
on
that's
that.
where the water wells, the 4 water wells were placed in, and they took it back. Yeah, I think they did exercise the reversionary clause there.
Yeah.
But they left the water wells in there. We have 4 of them that the government of Guam placed in, and that's where the school was supposed to have been built.
Yes.
Yes, can
Okay.
we get confirmation? I'd like to get confirmation.
Okay, I believe, yeah, like Joey, that based on the documents that they did, or they're in the process of taking it back, or they've already taken
Okay.
it back.
Okay, so just
Okay.
okay, Director, you can continue.
Okay, so we'll get back to that for action to be taken on draft resolution 2021. Okay, moving on, the American Rescue Plan 2021, the ARP. At the direction of the Magahaga Guahan, the Guam
Okay,
Ancestral Lands
Director, we
Commission.
still have your screen up.
Okay, let me stop share.
Okay,
Okay, now we're back.
okay. So just
Okay, again, starting over at the direction of the governor, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission was awarded $73,404 from the American Rescue Plan. These funds may only be used to respond to the negative economic impacts of the COVID-19 public health emergency and in accordance to the U.S. Treasury interim final rules. So we are now currently preparing a budget digest and spending plan for the use of these funds as required by BBMR before we can draw down on any of these funds. And then the Guam Ancestral Lands FY 2021 financial audit. We've already had the entrance conference to start the Ancestral Lands FY 2021 financial audit. That was held October 5th, 2021 at 2 p.m. by the Office of the Public Accountability. Deloitte & Touche LLP will be providing independent auditing services for this fiscal year. In July 25th of 2019, Deloitte was selected to provide professional auditing services for Ancestral Lands for fiscal years 2019, 2020, and 2021, with an option to renew for 1 additional fiscal year, subject to the availability of funds. And I included as attachment E, which is quite lengthy, is the audit chart for FY 2021 for the independent financial audit chart for you to review. Okay, we also received a report from the Office of Public Accountability. They were conducting an audit on the Government of Guam entity submission of fiscal years 2017, 18, 19, and 2020, the citizen-centric reports. And the OPA determined that ancestral land was partially compliant for FY 17, 18, and 19. These reports were untimely submitted to the OPA and the Speaker of the Legislature. But in the year 2020, they stated we were fully compliant. And that's when new management came in here to ancestral lands. Then, of course, the last one is oversight virtual hearing that's being scheduled for tomorrow at 5 p.m. Guam Ancestral Lands and Department of Land Management received an amendment first notice last week of the oversight hearing scheduled for Thursday. And our oversight chair is requesting for the status of, and this is quoted, the status of the notification of ancestral landowners of federal properties designated as transfers in progress under the authority of U.S. Public Law 106-504 and properties listed as anticipated to be transferred. And that was the list I had up earlier between 2022 and 2026 pursuant to response letter from the Secretary of the Navy, Kenneth Brathwaite, to the Governor Lourdes Leon Guerrero dated July 2nd, 2020. But I showed you that we had the more recent one as of January 15, 2021. And that's to include partial C of Marble Cave, Tangisan Beach Park, Tangisan Power Plant, I guess ESORP, that's the Maui tunnel, the well tunnel, and the USO Beach, PD Power Plant and Substation, Agana Diesel Power Plant, and Lot 601-1 Opera Heights, also identified as Lot 402-1. In addition, our oversight chair requested us to provide a status notification of ancestral landowners of Anderson Barragata Annex 1 and 2 lots A7 and A7B located in Barragata, Guam, to include the property known as Eagles Field and nearby lots in Barragata. And that's why that long conversation earlier about those particular lots. And commissioners, Mr. Chair, that's the end of my report.
So just Master Director. Any questions from the board?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Vice Chair.
Mr. Director, with regards to the oversight requested by the oversight chair, have you do you have a status report on the notification of those landowners?
Yes, Joey has been in contact with them. They're sending, he sent them a list of names that have contacted us. Our records here, we don't have records of the current contact numbers of these people, but many of them have been, several of them have called or contacted us. And so we provided those list of names as requested by the speaker to her office. Joey may have that list on him. I don't know how many people are on the list. I haven't gone over it myself.
Yeah. But you do have a list of the original heirs of the original land takings from that is provided for those area, for that particular area. Am I correct?
For the 102 acres that are being
Yes.
cited, yes. In fact, I believe I sent that out to you under the, it's on the next part of the agenda, the Eagles Field, but we're covering it pretty much right now.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pop that list up here for you.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'll screen share this. Okay, based on our research, not that we were asked to do it, but based on that, because of the publicity the area was getting, this is what we've come up with. We came up with 12 lots. And the amounts of that people were compensated with from early on in, let's see, in 1950, where people were paid. And then, of course, then we list who are the original landowners in the next column. And then in column D, the first payments that were made under the John Bond land claims. And an E, those that received the second, and mostly I believe this was probably interest earned or amounts that had to be given to uh, so that they could be compensated fairly and based on what they considered fair at that time. And of course, the compensation based on what I've reviewed under the 1976 case brought up by Attorney John Bond was the ruling was that the owners were to be compensated at the time of the condemnation, which was in the 1950s. Many of these lands, some of you are aware, were actually taken in the late 1940s after World War II, around 1947 and so. But because for some reason it wasn't considered legal to do that until we were given U.S. citizenship in 1950, then a list was given of lands that were to be condemned, which were, and because of that, the U.S. government listed them prior to the condemnation as leases. And most people afterwards probably considered it to be leases. So on the last column, F will be the size of the lots. So those are the list of properties in that area, in that specific area.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to
So you
continue
have
the screen share?
Yeah, do you have copied, contacted these families by any chance, any of them?
Okay, Joey, maybe
No.
Joey can answer if they have contacted us because we have not contacted, we have not reached out ourselves, but many of them have
Okay.
reached to us. And also to be aware of, again, I just want to remind you that we were short of staff because of what occurred over the last couple of weeks or so, actually over the last month. But so it has been pretty hectic in here, working with the ongoing audits. And of course, we had 2 FOIA requests as of last week, and we've responded and satisfied both of the FOIA requests, even though we were short in staff. So I want the commissioners to be aware that the staff that were here were working hard to do that. You know, we do have a limited amount of people working here, so, and we do have many things that are ongoing with reports that are due because of the closing and the opening of the fiscal year, the audit, and of course, many other things. And now, of course, the oversight hearing coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
So Joey, how many have contacted us?
Director, also, now that we have somewhat of a precise, I guess, idea of who the land, where the land, the new health facility is going to be located and who the owners are, can we try to make an effort to contact those that haven't contacted us per se?
Yeah, we can attempt to do that. It'll be easier for us to put or place an ad in the paper of such because we don't have their contact
Yeah.
numbers and we don't have the contact information unless they contact us. Because remember, many of the original landowners have passed away and we're looking at their heirs, and the heirs could number in the thousands. So
Yeah.
would we contact one from each place, or are we going to try to contact all? You know, it's an extreme number when you look at these properties that were
Yeah.
taken back in 1950 and how many of the original landowners are still surviving today. So we could, if you want, we could place
Yeah,
an ad
I
out.
got confirmation from Joey that, you know, in the beginning, it was all really speculation on where the actual health facility and where the boundaries was going to be at. And that's why it was kind of maybe pretentious to try to move on contacting. But I think now that we have a general idea, right? And
We have a general idea. We still don't have the surveys to be exact for us to know exactly where it's at, but we know the general area. And unlike
Yeah,
before,
okay.
when we had no knowledge of that. But
Yeah,
it's been well publicized. So
Okay.
because of that, we were able to come up with this list that we came up with.
okay, great. Now that we do have something, let's get a hold of who we can. I know that probably there's no information for some of them, but, and you're right, I think we should try to, notwithstanding tomorrow's hearing, maybe we
Yeah.
could go and implement what you said about putting out an ad or something.
Yeah, that'll probably be the most effective way, because trying to reach out to people other than us going up there, walking from house to house, not knowing who is in there, or trying to get on the phone and trying to call numbers and ask, do you guys have any interest in this land? Of course, most people are going
Yeah.
to say yes. A lot of people would want to have interest in properties, but it's to get a hold of these people, these
And-
specific heirs.
And unless they're living in a cave in Saudi Arabia or under a rock
Well-
somewhere, everybody knows there's a Paragata, the eagle's food is
Yes,
the site for this new health facility. So
that's
I'm
why those
thinking-
people have gotten a hold of us, because of
Yeah.
the publicity it's been getting. So we've been getting some contacts, and since Joey has been back, and he only returned just Monday. So, we've been working pretty hard.
I
trying to
wonder
get
if
this thing
anyone,
through.
if any of the landowners is here today for this
Mis-
meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Vice Chair?
If I believe we do have, since the establishment of the commission, I know that we do have a listing of the claims of interests. I am sure we do have a listing of the claims of interest. So if we can get the list of claims of interest to a file with the commission and look them up with
Very
this
good, Vice
listing.
Chair. Very good,
with
Vice.
this
Okay,
listing, yeah.
Director,
then you
just
can
let's make
contact.
every effort that we can and see how we can.
Yes,
Okay, so can we
Is
move
that-
on?
and
that's
hopefully
part of-
those
that's-
contact information is
Yeah.
current.
Yeah, because that's part of the report for tomorrow. They're gonna ask us, what is the notification status of these landowners? And I think if you get that list of claims of interest and a file with the commission and go in line and coordinate it with this list, then we can at least
Very
make
good,
a
very good, Vice
establish a
Chair.
contact
Very good.
list.
Very
Thank you.
good. Any other questions? For the director? No questions? Okay, Director, can we go back to the resolution?
Okay.
Okay, board members, I'd like to get some input on the, if you want to add something or you have any concerns
Yeah.
with the resolution?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair?
I'm grateful for that resolution. And I think that we should include, whereas that the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission members be a part or somehow participate in these newly attainable transfer of lands so that we can know the actual
Okay,
designated lands to be transferred, some sort of language in there, because it seems as if just because it's not in our hands, we have no control. The title of our position as commissioners and our whole agency is ancestral, That's the key point here. Those are sacred lands, ancestral lands. And it's dear to me and to the people that just cannot just be leased and settled for public purposes, just because the federal government made that determination. It's just an unjust taking. And the key point, the ancestral, those lands have been with us, with our people for thousands of years. And that's the key right there. So it's like, we're trying to wipe our hands free of it, but I feel that we need to put some more teeth in it. We be a part of that
Okay,
land
very good.
transfers of some sort of language in them. If I could put our attorney in there, it's so important. And all of us as members are heirs, and as a requirement, it's a requirement to be a member of this commission, to be an heir, and we need to stand up and represent truly our people. That's what we were placed there for.
Very
And, you
good.
know,
Vice Chair, what was the language you wanted to,
well,
you wanted to-
just to ensure that we participate. Somehow that we, the Ancestral Lands Commission members, have more, a more participatory role in an anticipated lands designated to be released for whatever purpose, be it back to the original landowners or public purposes. Because, you know, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you how long that I've been experiencing these injustices. Because at the time, the same thing happened with regards to the Army National Guard facility, the Tizen tennis court, the baseball field, those areas, those were released. But then there was a stipulation that was placed in there for public purpose. And, you know, they're benefiting it now. But did they get compensated for that? The original landowners, and that's a lot of land. And you know what? To close, many people were compensated once, compensated twice. Yet, they also received their lands back. So the unfairness now with regards to these lands that are just had been taken away, and now they're being placed under a stipulation of the land bank rather than a direct type of approach and face these people, you know. That's my take on this. I'm sorry, but it's so dear to me. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No,
you know,
I
my
concur,
opinion.
Vice Chair. I concur. We
But
can only
put
go so
something in
far in
there.
our
Put
role.
something
Yeah,
in
but
there.
I
Yeah,
concur.
yeah.
But I'm
I-
not sure how that would be. Can I get
Yeah.
other input from the board members? Do you have any input on this resolution? Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I think it would require legislation again to place that in there. That's what everything has to be
Well,
legislated.
this is just,
you know, it's
this
so
is
sad.
basically, yeah, this is just a mission statement that we have right
Yeah,
now. It's
but
just basically a
include
mission
that,
statement.
include something there, whereas that the
May I,
commission
Mr. Chair?
members.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Camacho, Commissioner Camacho?
not only does it require legislation, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this requires congressional action. So
Yeah,
What
but you know,
requires?
Mr. Chair,
what-
the
what require-
congressional
wait.
action.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the congressional acted on it. Robert
Mr.
Underwood,
Vice Chair,
Madam
let-
Nicholas, they all acted on it.
US, so. I
Oh,
don't
I'm
know.
sorry. Okay, order. I'm sorry, Commissioner Camacho. What requires congressional action again? Let's just clarify.
Bills that Director Birch referred to. These are US. These are not local. So changes to that, can it be done at a local level?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
He
but I
just-
don't think that's what, I don't think that's what Vice Chair is
Yeah.
saying, he's saying.
no,
I think
let
he's
me,
just-
listen, he just reported it to us that the lands return listing was first established in July of 2020. And then it was amended on January 15, 2021 by powers beyond. Okay? So that's why, you know, we should, as Ancestral Lands Commission members, be a part of this sort of how these amendments came about. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Commissioner Camacho, I think, but we're just on the mission statement, I guess, just putting out a resolution on how the board is. We're just re-verifying our mission. That's it, basically.
Yeah,
Because, you
Mr.
know,
Chair,
yeah,
number 2 that I highlighted right here. You requested I put in pursuing and advocating the rights of original landowners and
Yeah.
their heirs. I think that satisfies or that identifies, I believe, with what Vice Chair Laguardia was requesting. that we are to pursue and advocate.
Yeah, that's very, yeah, I agree. I agree. That does mean, so I think, Vice Chair, your concerns are very on point, but I think maybe we could bring that up in the hearing tomorrow with regard to the ancestral lands participation in future negotiations. But you know, the most we can do is suggest a notification and participation in these discussions. But regarding the mission statement, how's everybody? Is everybody okay? We have any concerns with the mission statement as written? Additions or takeaways? Okay, can we get a motion on the floor to approve? If any concerns, now's the time.
I move, Mr. Chair, with the subject to corrections with the added language there. Just keep it in simple. I believe our attorney Toff got the point there, gets our message.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution.
With the amendment suggested.
Oh, the amendment?
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
to include that the Guam ancestral lands be part of the play a role in the decision-making process of lands designated to be released.
I think the director pointed out that number 2, pursuing and advocating for the rights of original landowners and their heirs and the return of excess U.S. federal and government of Guam lands to their original heirs. I think as far as our mission statement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other concerns you may have, I think may be appropriate for the hearing, legislative hearing. Although I concur, Vice Chair, I concur
Okay.
with you. Okay, so anybody? No, anybody?
Yeah,
Commissioner
I
Camacho?
would- before anything,
Yeah,
before we vote on anything, I mean, I think, can we put something before us? If Attorney Toff can chime in and give us the verbiage to consider as an amendment.
well, actually, we're not making an amendment to anything really. We're just,
We're adding on, yeah. Adding on.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Mr. Nick, yeah.
Adding-
Commissioners, right now you have, I believe, a motion, but it's not been seconded.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
direction for us to
Yeah.
go before we
Yeah,
go into
yeah,
discussion.
thank you, Director. He's right. We do have a motion on the floor, unless you want to withdraw your motion, Commissioner?
No, I'm moving with the amendment to include whereas that the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission members or within the commission be a part, play an active role, or be a part of these, of the notification of these listing of returns of lands.
Is that proper for a mission, resolution mission statement?
Well, no, put it out in there. This is just a resolution. It's not that it's not a law or anything, Mr. Chair. This is just justifying us as commission members, our role. And we're sanctified. We're actually Thurman saying
So-
we're just stating it that this is, you know.
Director?
You would like me to add a number 4 to this? Or you wanted to put it up in the
Or-
whereas that we have
Yeah.
up here?
Can we get legal counsel to chime in?
Yeah, sure.
then
Why don't we
my
do
group-
this? What I would have is, I would ask Commissioner Laguardia, maybe reframe the motion as a motion to add to the to the mission statement and then state what his addition is and where it goes, and then have the committee vote on that.
Well, what about his amendment or his addition? What is your thoughts on that regarding our mission statement? Is that okay? Appropriate for a mission statement?
I mean, that's up to the board, really. It's as a question of legality, we can put in, you know, anything that we believe is in line with the mission. Whether or not the commission agrees with that or not is why we put it to a vote.
So, okay, Commissioner Laguarnia, can you repeat your
Okay,
motion?
yeah, whereas thus forward that the Guam Ancestral Lands Commissioners or Commission members or Commission
Mission.
be a part or participate or be notified and participate in the notified and participate in the the designated transfer of such lands
Return of
in
lands.
the return of lands in the event that they are immediately identified. Immediately identified. Because somehow I see that this listing, I never seen this listing in 2020. I heard about it. Madeline Berdalio, I mentioned it. Delegate Robert Underwood mentioned it. But we never got to the point of seeing the listing. And then
Okay, we have a
apparently it changes when it gets here.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with an amendment to to this resolution we've drafted, or an addition to the resolution. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
seconded by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? No discussions?
Just a comment right there. Thank you, Mr. Rios.
Yeah,
It's the noble thing to do.
Mr. Chair, I just
know.
wanted to say that yes,
Okay.
yes,
Commissioner Rios, go ahead.
Vice Chair, I totally understand and agree. I feel like, maybe, decisions were made concerning these properties. We should have been involved in that process. I think that's what I'm understanding. That's your concern, and that should be our concern, all of our concern, to be involved anytime and every time that properties, any ancestral lands are being discussed. We should have been notified. I understand that. So yes, I agree as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I praise you, Mr. Rios, Commissioner Rios, as a patriot. And I stand at that.
Okay. We have any more discussion? Any more discussions? Okay, no further discussions. Let's go for a vote. I'm going to go individual. Commissioner Laguarnia,
Preba,
Commissioner Rios, Commissioner Camacho,
I pass.
okay. You abstain?
I pass.
Okay. Commissioner Cruz,
Approved.
okay, I approve. We have a majority approval. Motion passes, Director.
Okay.
Are we done with your report?
We needed one more resolution that needed action, and that would be the draft resolution 2021-09.
Okay.
And this is time sensitive because of the these accounts are maturing.
Okay,
And if we don't take action on it, then they will simply roll over into what they are now. And the interest rates, like for one account is, I believe, about 36 months, that's 3 years, it will be at 1%.
okay.
So I don't think we want to lock it in that long
Yes.
at 1%. The interest rates will improve.
Okay, let's move. We need a motion on the floor to approve the account transfers.
Question.
Commissioner
Account is
Cruz.
it? Which account is this? Because there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Well,
that
let me reduce this.
expired on November 6th, and that's the account 409, 410,
Okay.
411, 412, and 413.
Okay, let me grab down, go down to, oh, what happened here? Let me get another. Let me stop the share and reopen it. That way I can get a better copy of this.
Do we need to be specific on the account and the amount that we are going to?
I have that
add
as specific, yes. Let me reopen that. It seemed to have had a little issue with it. Okay, here's the screen that you wanted to see. Okay, so the account that's going to mature will be these two accounts 401, 403. They'll mature in December 6th. One is a 12-month term share, the other is a 24-month term share. And a 36408 is a 36 month term share to mature on December 18. So those are the three that we will be closing and reopening. And just like we did with 406, which we closed and reopened, these two accounts we closed and reopened, and they are now accounts for 414 and 415, where they've now been moved to 3-month shares. Some of them used to be 40 some months and others. So we've adjusted that already. That's all I'm asking us to do on these two. And then we have another two that will expire in April of next year and December of next year. So unless we take action on this, they will roll over and stay in there and be available for us to withdraw one in 2 months and the other one in 3, and the last one in, I mean, 3 months. I mean, 2 years and 3 years, and the other one 3 years.
But you
So I'm
want to
just saying,
act on the
because-
one that's going to expire on December 6th, the 401, 404, and 408,
Yeah, 403, 404, and 408.
or 403, okay.
Yeah, just those three. They're specifically identified in the resolution
Okay,
with the amounts. The amounts are also specifically identified. uh, right here. I could. So
So the amount that's showing is the balance, right? Like the 403, the balance is 325,154.11.
in 403, yeah, $325,154.11. And in 408, it's $2,490,000. Of course, we should invest these, and that's why we've contacted Gita to help us invest these in accounts or into areas where we can improve our interest income on them. Right now, earning at 0.5% is not what we want to be, but the interest rates are low all over, so we don't want it to roll over for another 2 to 3 years at 75 to 1%. So that's why I'm recommending that we roll it over into short-term accounts. And as interest rates improve, or should we come up with the management for our investments with Gita, that we can easily pull these out without any penalties and invest them into better investments.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the resolution is for the 403, 404, and 408. What about the 409, 410, 411, 412, and 413, which expire?
Those are 3 month, and they will roll
Okay.
over for another 3 month automatically.
Okay, without it.
And
All
so
right.
they'll be easily accessed without penalty.
Okay. So with that line, then I am making a motion to roll over account 403 that expires on December 6, 2021 in the amount of 325,154.11 cents. And account number 404 also expires on December 6, 2021 in the amount of 324,241.73 cents. And account number 403, which expires on December 18, 2021, in the amount of 2,490,000.
Wait,
For
that's
a short term
401 and
period of 3 months?
403, 401 and 403.
401 and 403.
Yes, and 408.
Not 404.
404 it matures in 2022, a year from now.
Okay, then I'll make the correction then. Instead of the 404, it'll be account number 401, which expires December 6, 2021, in the amount of 551,645.69 cents. And this is for a short-term period of 3 months. The account is with Coast 360.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I second.
Regarding accounts
I
401, 403, and 408. There's a
Yes.
second on the floor by Commissioner Camacho.
Correct.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye. Any nays? No nays. Motion passes, Director.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. That's the end of my report for today.
Okay, so just Masi, Director. Okay, now we're back to the agenda. And we move on to Gita's progress report. Number 5. Item number 5. Gita progress.
Yeah.
Buenas.
Yes, and good afternoon.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Tony, 1 second, Tony. Buenas. Okay. 1 second while the director clears the screen.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chair,
Oh,
Can I-
Mr.
can I-
yes,
Mr. Chair, before I leave,
Yes,
before
Vice-
I have to step out a minute, just for a short while. But before we move on, I just like to state for the record,
okay.
that by a past vote by Commissioner Angela Camacho is a no vote. Clearly states her position is not in favor of returning the lands back to the original landowners.
That's not correct.
Amen. Well, the resolution passed, so it's okay. Move on.
I'll give Commissioner Camacho a chance, to respond. Is it incorrect?
That's not a correct statement, and a pass is a pass. I don't have a problem with the resolution. I was passing. When you came back to me, I would vote. It's okay, it passed.
No, but a pass is considered a no vote.
No,
That's-
you come
that's-
around
that's how
to
it
me
is.
and I can vote again, correct? It comes back to me. So that is not correct.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
anyways, it passed without your support, so move on.
Okay, so you're saying Commissioner Camacho, I should have gone back to you. Is
Isn't
that how
that-
it should have been? done? I'm not sure. That's why I'm saying I wasn't sure. I should have gone back to you?
That's how it
Is
normally.
that how it should have gone?
That's what she's saying, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so Juice Masi for both commissioners. Thank you. Okay, Gita progress report. Let's move.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry,
Chairman.
Tony.
No problem. Good afternoon. Buenas. Mr. Chairman Aclavea, Vice Chair Laguarnia, and all commissioners, GLC Executive Director Birch, and your staff. My name is Tony Ariola, representing GITA. I'm here to present the GITA monthly progress report. In attendance with me is our GITA administrator, Ms. Melanie Mendiola. I'm sorry, and our project manager, Mr. Mike Cruz. And also with our tenants, the VP for Northern Market, Mr. Carlos Camacho, and the General Counsel for Northern Market, Ms. Jennifer Cobble. The following is a progress report on GITA's efforts to manage the land bank trust properties as required by Section 1 of the MOU between GITA and the GALC Land Bank Trust. First one on the list is Weddingdale Junction, Northern Market LLC, Route 3, Dedado. Northern Market VP Carlos Camacho sent a written letter indicating that they are finalizing a ground lease with a major anchor tenant who will be leasing a construction pad ready property soon, and they're awaiting a final review from their tenant's legal counsel. In addition, Northern Market prefers to not disclose the anchor tenant until the lease has been executed and is able to obtain their consent. We send the attached letter for your reference. Northern Market is also requesting for an extension of their 1 additional year of full rent deferral from present to November 2022. That request was also in the attached letter, as well as the financial statement that was provided with the letter as well. Moving on down to number 2 of the Land Bank Trust property, which is the Upper Harbor Parcel 1, Commissary Junction PD. That's Quick Space. The tenant is Quick Space. This tenant is current with their lease rents. The next one in the list is Upper Harbor Reservation F12, which is Matson Navigation Company. They're also current with their lease rents. The next one on the list is the lot Upper Harbor Reservation F12-R2. This is TransSteel's half-acre property. The tenant remitted both payments, each of the amount of $600 on September 30 and November 1. And they still have a remaining balance of $10,000. Moving on into the Tizan properties. GIPA, the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. This tenant remitted ACH payment on October 4th in the amount of $8,000 for a coverage of 1 month's rent. Next one on the list is the Department of Public Health and Social Services, the WIC Program Office. GIDA's accounting division is currently working with GALC to reconcile the account balance and in determining the beginning forward balance for invoicing purposes and monthly statements. Tenant also remitted ACH direct deposit payments on November 9, 2021 in the amount of $75,600 for a monthly rent that covers a period of 9 months. The other items on the list, which is RFP 21-011. This is the lease and development of land bank trust property, lot Apple Harbor Reservation F12-1, portion of F12-2 and F12-3, which is the Polaris Point PD. The RFP 2111 was issued on Friday, September 17, 2021, with the ad and was published in the PDN, with a deadline of submission for proposal that was on Monday, October 18. On November 8, 2021, an evaluation committee composed of representatives from GIDA and GALC met. Upon completion, GIDA recommends GALC commissioners approve for GIDA to notify the vendor of the evaluation results and to proceed with lease negotiations. Second RFP, which is 21-012. This is for the lease and development of land bank trust property, the Nimitz Hill Annex B1, parcel N10B-2, Municipality of Asan. The RFP was issued on Friday, September 17, 2021. Ad was also published in the PDN. No proposals were received in response to RFP 21-012 before the proposal due date on Monday, October 18. This concludes my GIDA monthly progress report. And if there's any questions, well, this concludes my report. And we also, if there's any questions, we also have our tenant, Carlos Camacho, and also Ms. Jennifer Calvo, their general counsel. Thank you. Any questions?
Jus Masi, Tommy, any questions from the board? Okay, let's go up to, by the way, buenas, Carlos. It's good to see you. Glad to see that you're in good health. You're looking good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
And
we had some prayers for you.
I am still in the recovery stage. We always hope to be 110% healthy, but unfortunately, on early part of this year, middle part of this year, I had some health setbacks and had to take care of that one and go to the mainland and then come back here and still trying to, my body's still trying to figure out how to cope with the setbacks, but I got to work around it. Fortunately, I know I can tell you this, that Tony Arreola has been looking for me for many months back. But when my health had a setback, I decided to just focus on that more because of my family, my wife, my 3-year-old baby, and my young college girl. So, but I put that all in perspective, and now I'm back, and I'm glad that hopefully if I can speak on some historical situation, because there's some new board members there, and I just want to speak about that. But yes, thank you very much for all your prayers and concerns, and hopefully we improve in the health situation.
Well, you're looking good. You're looking good. And I hope our prayers work. It looks like it worked. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes, don't you have an assistant to take over, a reliable assistant to take over when you're not around?
Well, we have everybody has a role, but during this 18 months of COVID pandemic impact, all of us had our existing businesses that took a whirlwind of hit. I'll give an example, at least on my side. My other partners have commercial buildings also that are impacted. But on my side, in the last 18 months, we're one of the largest, I don't want to say largest, we're one of the low-income housing rental program. You guys all know me as the Ironwood communities. We've been building all over Guam. We were originally impacted when 20-some thousand people lost their jobs, the targeted low-income community. And that's who I take care of in my tenancy base. So when they all lost their jobs, a high percentage of them some of them live in my projects, of course, don't have income to pay their rent. And one of the other situation was, and you guys probably saw that, the non-eviction notice. You know, normally when people don't pay rent, we try to do a workout plan and try to help them out as best we can. We do everything we can, but then you got the non-eviction notice that you cannot evict nobody at all. So, and at that time, things were trickling slowly. You know, the PUA, the federal pandemic payment was coming in. Later on, Congress passed the rent relief program for these folks. But before all that, over 1 year, things were still going through that process. So we were heavily financially impacted. So my staff, at least on my staff, they were focusing on how to save these families so that we don't put them in the streets. And we always try to figure out how we can use these federal programs to help them. And you guys all heard this, and I'm not gonna say that's what happened, but finally, when the PUA and federal pandemic income came in, a high percentage of them didn't pay their rent. They didn't pay their housing costs. They bought cars. They bought things of personal use, and that's okay. That's up to them. That's their money, right? And they all got a big lump sum for back pay for that 1 year. And so we thought that they would be paying their rent, but not all of them did it. So that's why Congress decided to pass the rent relief program later that is specific for that. And that just happened 3-4 months ago, I think, I forget. And we're still going through DOA. We're letting our clients who are still unemployed go through that, because you only get a 1 year, benefit. So I had and maybe I'm not sure if that's all that stress that caused that. Then I'm in the restaurant industry also. And in the restaurant industry, in the early part of the pandemic, we had only takeout orders to go, occupancy requirement, but we still have a full, full 8,000 square feet restaurant or 5,000 square feet that we're paying rent. So, we lost a lot of potential revenues. And so that impacted that side of the industry. So our business community was so chaotic in those sense during the last 18 months. Well, you see the legislature and the governor's branch and GITA, again, the same agency that's overseeing your assets, put out many grants to help our types of organization that are impacted get some grants so we can see some type of relief. So that's been helping. And then the most recent one is that's not passed is how do we stabilize these industry that are impacted. It's majority tourism, majority of the restaurant, because of all the requirements in regards to the occupancy factor early on, then the vaccine and non-vaccine requirements. All those things play a role. So what the legislature and the governor's office and GIDA decided to do is put together, and you guys probably heard that called the LEAP program, where they put $50 million for, there was a whole slew of every organization in Guam from the tourism to support that so that we can figure out how to survive. There's still that industry. If you guys go down Tuman, you still see, and I'm saying all these stuff because it all ties into the decisions we make at Northern Market, and I'll explain all that as I tie it in. But when you get all those aids, those are aids for existing business and all that, and how we support the commercial rent side, because even GIDA provided a short-term rent relief program for the commercial landlords, because there was a lot of commercial landlords that wasn't getting paid. As you can see, there was no commercial activity in many of those in certain location. And there was just a lot of closure at that time. People just can't handle and wait out the stuff. So we got many help in many different angles, but that's for existing businesses. On my partner's side, they run quite a few of the commercial operation, and they, I can't speak for them. I don't see their, I don't manage their stuff, but I'm assuming that their tenancy base also got affected. So they probably had to work on some costs, negative cost overrun like I did in our apartments and all that stuff. But in the meantime, while we did all that, that just redirected our focus. We didn't put Northern Market aside and left it aside, because as we reported to you before I got sick, that we were looking at redirecting our tenancy-based angle, so that we kind of look for potential tenancy that could be, I don't know how to say this, pandemic immune maybe, and these are, we seen it during the 18 months, certain industry that even if we have any of those restriction, i.e. for example, grocery stores, i.e. for example, lumberyard stores, or like Home Depot type, or gas stations, or things in those nature, or things in those natures that even during the pandemic restriction, they robusted and actually did more better, according to our friends in that industry. They did more better in their revenue and all that, and maybe because the rest of the other equation had restrictions, but these are the guys that were pandemic immune. And that's why when I came into you guys earlier this year, prior to me being ill, we were asking for a longer extension at that time, because we had a vision to rechange our master plan. We spent a lot of money on our plans. We've already got our permits at that time early on to be permitted, at least to bring in the infrastructure at that point. But we need, at that time, our focus was mostly on commercial tenancy base. And if we weren't impacted by the H2 workers historically, for these board members who didn't remember, if they wonder why our deferment keeps being requested since our beginning, and I'm sorry to keep changing the stuff, but I just want to give a little historical brief. In the beginning, our first impact was the H2 workers. We did not have any H2 workers way many years back. We had a labor shortage at that time. And even at that time, the military base had a labor shortage. And that was one of the reasons we were asking deferment. And I always put my caveat to say, that's what we felt here on the private side. but I said, please, you can ask Gita to talk to his sister company, the sister agency, Department of Labor, to reconfirm if that's a true case. But you guys can watch that in the newspaper event. At those times when we started to ask for the deferment. Then Congress again played a role and passed the H2 worker approval for only NDAA projects or inside the base, or only NDAA projects that are tied outside the base, and i.e. A hotel, because it's tied to whenever military stays, or any other projects that could be tied to the military at that time. So when Congress approved that many years back, so we thought, we said, wow, that's good. We finally got that hurdle out of the way. We can move forward. But then COVID hit, COVID came and further setback. And sometimes I call it bittersweet, because you're right. I mean, when you see that unpaid deferment, remember the key word is deferment. We never asked for any forgiveness yet. I mean, we're not asking for forgiveness. We asked for deferment because strategically, if I was able to move forward from our plans that we spent early on, our commercial building and our infrastructure, and let's say I had tenancy base, at that time our cost was 20-some million to build. And you guys saw the article when I was going through HUD to get the $13 million guarantee, which we were negotiating at that time. If we're able to build at that time and probably brought in a tenancy base, that at that time it was like a clothing store or all those kind of stuff for typical strip mall type at that time from our master plan, our strip mall. That's prior to COVID. And let's say we did build it, and let's say I think I would have been heard of whirlwind today, because other than the land lease, I would be fully set back with, I don't know, maybe mortgage, or rent not being paid, so my mortgage is hit, and I'll be in a bigger bigger whirlwind, but more headaches at that point. But you know, when all that stuff came in, thanks to some of the board members here that was here in the past, and for the new ones that hasn't, this one giving a little historical perspective, why we keep asking for the deferment. One was H2, then the COVID came, and we were asking for an extension so we're gonna redirect our tenancy base to try to find some pandemic immune tenancy, which we think we know that we started first with the pads, and in our master plan, like from our original, we got 3 pads. We were able to get one potential anchor financial tenancy base, and we've already been talking to them. We're down to the 99-yard line. We've already concurred, and we're almost there. And that's the reason we can't announce their name yet, because we haven't signed our lease agreement with them to start building their building. We're going to be bringing the infrastructure. When that happens, then we know the other 2 that are restaurant pads are going to be there, and all they're doing is the only thing we're modifying in our master plan is the drive-through concept. So it has a combination of drive-through that we didn't have before in our restaurant pads, so that in the event, knock on wood, we don't see back any pandemic situation. But who knew we were going to have a variant hit? We thought we were already almost recovering from the first COVID-19. Then we got the variant that came in, and then we just furthermore still had a little bit restriction. But we got 2 other tenants that are going to, and these are existing long-term businesses that are going to be relocating to our potential site. And I don't want to say the names at this time because I don't, wherever they're moving out of, their physical commercial space is not, it's not condoned to in the event there is another pandemic. And we hope that is, we hope that we're getting out of this. We hope, and we just keep moving positively forward. But in the event it happens, they want to be ready to just to assure that their the investment they put in can take care of the walk-ins now that's allowed. At the same time, take care for those individuals who still don't want to, who still wants to be apart from the crowded situation. So they'll have the drive-through revenue resources. So once we get those three, then we are looking at our strip mall side and looking for those pandemic immune type tenancy base, other than before, when we were originally, before we asked for the deferral from the beginning, we were negotiating, and at that time I wasn't able to say, but since nothing ever happened with these guys, Sports Authority, TJ Maxx, and we were talking with Ross before, and we weren't ready, right, at that time. Ross needed to make sure that there was other US tenancy. And so since we didn't have any other anchor tenants, they decided to move to Micronesia Mall at that point. But at that time, you guys don't know, Sports Authority shut down all over the US. So things of that happened. So then again, COVID-19 came, and now we're looking, and we think that once we announce our 3 pad ready tenants, and they see some real estate activity moving, some earthwork moving in regards to our civil work, and we think that I know we've been hopefully the pandemic immune type businesses, and again, it was fortunate we get to see those types during the 18 months, the one that survived and that still robusted very fairly. We hope to get a good majority of that on our bigger footage, and that's who we're going to try to reach out to. And we've at least on the food store side, we potentially think we got somebody, but we're just trying to make sure we have access to the workforce. Now, the reason I say the workforce again is it's so ironic that and I can't speak for this, but maybe and I heard this from my friends at Don Quixote. Don Quixote is the corner lot that everybody saw, the big white fence going around there, the airport and Marine Drive. That's a one-man Japanese investor. He owns the Don Quixote stores in Japan. He decided to lease that lot there and build his Don Quixote store there. And right now he just put his metal framework up, but he has also an H2 issue. If I'm not, I know Melanie's here, and I don't know if that is correct, and you can confirm or not confirm if it's confidential. But what the Don Quixote, the chairman, told me that he asked Gita and Governor for help because he has his workforce is also frozen at at the UCIS, and I don't know if Melanie, if you can confirm that or keep that confidential. I don't know, but they also have some worker problem other than just the small earthwork that they can do and the frame just to do some activity. And they're trying even to look at an angle to see how they can tie it into the military, because the only one being approved for the workers outside the base are military tie-in project. But that's one of the hearsay and rumors. But I know I got that from good, reliable source. So in our case, the most important part that I know that you guys are asking is our arrears is accruing, and that's why we never asked for any forgiveness. But strategically, our goal is once we get the tenant, the 3 pads started, get some construction activity. Hopefully we can convince the bigger guys in the equation. But as we move forward, we're able to finally generate some cash flow that are provided to non-impacted industries that can pay the rent, not ask for any 6-month deferment like other commercial spaces out there, right? So hopefully that's who we're going for, so we can make sure we bring in the cash flow. And when we bring the cash flow, our first goal is to make sure we start our current rent data, right, as we move forward. But on the arrears, that's when we will sit down and based on our cash flow model, and hopefully if we recover on our private side, on our private own, and we have some surplus there, we can contribute and provide. It's just that it's a global thing. So now we just have to, we're just trying to figure out how we can put this all together to make sure it doesn't cripple us. But we're gonna try to figure out a way to make that whole. And and that's the reason we never asked for any forgiveness. Maybe we may be asking for strategic restructuring of it, but it's still a debt that we're paying when we get our as we get our cash flow coming in piecemeal until we get 100% full in our full development. But I don't know if that's confusing, but again, that's where we at. To finally answer your question, do I have any assistant? We now that we know how to almost settle some of our own private affairs, where we go after certain, like I explained, go after certain federal programs, some local programs that GITA offers to help us breathe. The rumor has it, it's probably taking it's probably going to take 1 year to 2 years for this tourism industry to come back in, so we can bring in some increase our GPD and some cash flow buying power. But in the meantime, PUA ended. There's no more of the pandemic unemployment income no more. So we haven't felt the raft of that cash flow that we have seen the last 8-9 months, when all these 20-some thousand unemployed were getting over $1,800 a month of income. That has ended in September. So that income is no longer there. So that buying power is not there no more. So I don't know if you're going to see another economic trickle down on some of the commercial spaces that are entertaining these guys. But that's why the pandemic immune guys, like the grocery stores and all these unemployment guys, if there's no more PUA, guess where they go to? The federal government provides an increase on food stamp and Section 8 for housing, right? So the food stamp will be increased for these families to get help until hopefully the economy picks up. And then they get the food stamp, but the food stamp can be used for grocery stores or food type stores that qualify. And that income has increased dramatically. So, or that, forecast is going to be increasing dramatically. So that's that industry that's going to be stable no matter what happens. So we're hoping that on the bigger side of the tenancy base, we can entice a food chain store, a grocery store that, because of our it's a great strategic location, Marine Drive frontage. When we did our master plan, we have a large parking space. So we're hoping to convince a large anchor grocery store to come in there. And but of course, we're making sure we do the first 3 pads, and then we're going to open, say these are available, and as we see, we're going to be very careful on selecting our tenancy base. Like I said, to any, at least, we're not trying to be prejudiced, but at least so that in the event there's any pandemic, we try to minimize any potential impacts, so we don't further hurt ourselves, because we seen it in our private world side, and now that we're going to be the developer in this side, we want to make sure we kind of minimize those type of impact and hopefully redirect it to those type of tenancy base. I hope that will answer your question.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. We have any questions from the board?
Now, your issue with the past request for deferment has been labor issues. You can't complete your project without labor. So you've also redirected your plans because of your situation. Do you still have labor issues?
Well, that's there are labor out there, so at least for the civil work, we've been meeting some contractors, civil contractors. In regards to the vertical work, you got small contractors doing one-off, like a one pad ready lot, let's say like a Jollibee type restaurant that they can do. But for a 200,000 square feet strip mall, you're gonna need someone that will have to have like 100 to 200 workers, and that's the reason I use the Don Quixote as an example, because they're doing a strip mall, and I understand they're having some labor issue because their project's not tied to NDAA. But I need Tony Arola to double check Department of Labor if that's the case, because I just want to reconfirm that. But that's not, in the meantime, we are hoping that that as we do the 1, 2, 3 pads, because you can get the smaller contractors to do it, and hopefully we can convince any type of commercial activity go there that hopefully is pretty much immune to any type of pandemic, at least for us when we invest the cost to build the asset. That's when you're going to need any of those contractors, but we're not at that stage yet, because we are, I think once we announce our 3 pads, like say we're finally gonna put a big billboard and also do the whiteboard around the property and clear it and say coming soon, these 3, and then we have other locations available for future tenancy, and hopefully we'll get some inquiry. But I don't know, I know that there's still some labor shortage outside the fence if it's not tied to NDA, but I would rather have Gita talk to Department of Labor, Greg Massey, to reconfirm my statement in that. So that way you have that for the record to make sure that that is still the case. But for smaller projects, it's still available. But for the small contractors out here, but for the big projects, you still have a labor issue. But I would rather them call Department of Labor, Greg Massey, to check if that's the case. If there is still some labor holdback for whatever reason. I don't know if Tony, were you able to double check that when I asked? I'm not sure if you did that, Tony.
I can look into it, Carlos. I can look into it to reconfirm if they were ever approved, if we did help them. Yeah, but I'll reconfirm with Greg Massey, and I'll get back with the commission in that.
Yeah, just to double check if that's still the case. And if not, then it's okay, because by the time we find our tenancy base, we'll move forward. But if it is, then we just gotta find. We don't want to be like the Don Quixote situation, and you have a skeletal base and you don't have the workforce. You know what I mean? But you just need to reconfirm that, because that's just my perspective on what I'm seeing out there, and what we're seeing as my Northern Market team. We're well-rounded in our team, but But, I would rather have Gita reconfirm that scenario with Department of Labor, Greg Massey, to check that scenario.
Here's what I know, with Mr. Ed Camacho, our business development manager, that he did confirm that we did assist Don Quixote when they came to us in regards to writing a letter to UCIS. But according to Ed, that letter was submitted to the Labor Department, but he does not know if what happened after that, whether it was approved or not. So, like I said, I'll reconfirm with Labor on that.
Okay, so at least then my discussion with the chairman of Don Quixote was correct. He did ask Gita for support, and you just reconfirm right now that you guys wrote a letter to UCIS to support their labor requests, because now that they're finally going to go into the vertical side of the equation, they need a lot of labor for their large Don Quixote shopping center, and they had, as he told me, they have a setback. They weren't approved because it wasn't related to NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. But I'm glad you confirmed that they did write a letter. You guys did write a letter to at least help support them in their labor requests. And I know that's where they're at the bottleneck. So, but we're still gonna move forward. And with all that setbacks and all that, that labor setback was many years ago. And then when the Congress passed it for the on-site, on the base situation, it's just amazing why they did not include off-base for the H2 workers. And then the rumor had it, yes, it was included off-base, but that wasn't the case later. So then that's what brought up inflation when there's shorter workers in the base, paying higher price premium versus outside the base. And you've seen all that. And a lot of you guys in the industry seen all that through higher cost of homes, which I'm involved in, higher cost of construction. And higher cost of construction means higher cost per square foot on rent and all that. So that's why we have to strategically look for, and I hate to say that because I'm not supposed to pick and choose type of tendency, but when you have higher costs of a certain product, of course, your cost of charging your square foot rent will be X. And when you charge X because of the higher costs, and you charge it to almost a pandemic immune organization like a grocery store or whatever, they're the guys that are robusting the cash flow in the matter of any of the restriction. They don't feel the negative cash flow. They're not the one like restaurant industry that had takeout only at that time, 50% occupancy factor. But you saw the guys that are robusting, the one had drive-thrus. Drive-thrus were super long all the time. The cars they were just making so much money. I mean, not money, but they still had their customer flow. And so it's those type, we sit back and we look at the micro environment. So when we develop the product, we want to make sure it's a good product because we have a ground lease to pay. And at that time, we will probably have a mortgage to pay on our development of whatever investments we put vertically and horizontally. And we want to make sure it's stable. So that's why I know for the new commissioners, when you look at a deferred arrear and the number's so high, it's not like because we keep doing this every year, we're not going to do this for 15 years. We're doing this because the current situation was at that time, the H2 worker. At that time, the first time before the H2 was the Section 106. For those commissioners that were not aware of that property, if you guys remember, there were concrete pads. There were concrete pads sitting on that property. Because I was using HUD 108 money at that time when I was going to build the product, I had to use Section 106 from Department of Parks and Rec, archaeological report. Well, because there's pads, it became a potential historical site. So we had to fly in at our expense. We flew in the Section 106 archaeological guys from Hawaii so they can historically identify what those pads were, what those concrete structure was over there. I wish I could have just bulldozed it because that took about 6 to 8 months of delay because of the guys were from off island. For those commissioners that don't remember that part of the first deferment we asked for. Later, we found out that that used to be a furniture store and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't part of, I always joke at that time. I always said, because there was one little bunker building there when we walked the property. I always joke, oh, that's where they signed the Spanish Pacific agreement, and that's historical. I was just joking with the Hawaiian guys that were doing it, and that's not the case. But at the end of the day, we were able to get the approval from the Federal Parks and Rec and Archaeological to when we're ready to move forward to demolish it. So that took the first hurdle. And then that's why when we were going for the permitting and we have the blueprints that we spent a lot of funds on, we were ready to go. And we had our potential US anchor tenants that's going to go in. We have the H2 problem again at that time. And that one made all the news that there was no workers in Guam. There was shortage. We had a X amount of workers and it was dwindling downwards. Every time they expired, they were being exported back out to their homeland. And you guys saw that process happen at that timeline. So that's
Carlos, can I interject just for 1 minute? I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Laguardia has a question, has a question.
Yeah, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
To just move forward now, basically, were you able to secure any CARES funding from either SBA or GITA?
I'm glad you asked that, Vice Chair, because we didn't have those programs for existing businesses that had, let's say like my restaurant. I'm a tenant of a landlord. So GITA provided a rent relief program for us so that because we couldn't pay our rent, everybody was back. Our landlord was hurting. So GITA decided to take that CARES Act fund and they put aside some money and they created called the rent relief program. So we applied for that, and that's how we were able to refocus and get some stress off our back and helping our landlords get some money. But it was only short fuse, but we got it. The PPP, for example, payroll protection plan, that was for existing operation with employees. We didn't have any of that at the northern market because we didn't build any. So we like for the landlord and all that, we didn't qualify for any of that because there was nothing built, or there was no existing business that had a track record to show any impact. So
I understand. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, because you had to have garnered so much revenue, certain percentage of that revenue, to meet that threshold in order to qualify. Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
No problem, Vice Chair.
Question. You said you have redirected your development plans. So you must have come up with a written comprehensive plan to address both the labor and the inflation for on the cost of your development. So you have, or you're planning to do a redirecting of your plans?
No, what we did was still in our master plan, we had 3 pads from like our original, the 3 pads that we've been permitting, the 3 pads. When I say pads, I'll give it, like the pads at GPO where you have Longhorn, Ruby Tuesdays, and Kings, those single pads outside the shopping center. So we had 3 pads. But when we say redirected, we decided how can we find almost pandemic immune type industries that are interested in coming in a very strategic location. And we then looked to, and because of the labor issue, we decided to look at the smaller scale footprint of the pads. So we were fortunate, and that's my other partners did that. They were fortunate to start working with a lending institution in Guam that is trying to have a marine drive view and footprint in that very strategic location, because they're growing the Route 3 area. The Route 3 was also growing because the military buildup, right, and all that. And at that time, the hospital was still being completed. We got the new hospital right across the street. Matter of fact, we partner up with the signal light in that hospital. That's why the signal light was very close to our tail end of our property. When that was being planned, we participated in that. So that strategically, when we're ready to open our site, we tie in our egress to that signal light. So we'll finally mesh in into that and all that. So when I say we redirected our tenancy base. Before we were just open to any tenancy base. So because of our strategic location, but that's why sometimes I call it bittersweet. If I went ahead and opened it up to anybody and not trying to be very cautiously strategic on picking a tenancy base, and let's say we did build it, and let's say we didn't do the drive-through for these restaurants. If it was all restaurants we put, they would be impacted just like everybody else. Where you had a limited 0 occupancy to 50% to 75 to now with vaccine cards only, right? And that's why now you saw the process when everybody had to provide canopies outside their building because they weren't allowed to sit inside their building because they needed an outdoor type of. I mean, there was so many variation of creative ways to try to generate revenues for that industry. But when you look at the drive-through type of industry, the lines, people doesn't matter, they don't care. They rather wait on the line because they feel safe in their car, being more than 6 feet apart. And at that time, the mindset, of course, because we're still learning in all these COVID situation. When we sat back, we said, okay, when we want to redirect, when I say redirect, how do we reincorporate now our parking lot master plan to include these long-term restaurant pads that are out there that now wants to incorporate a drive-through or wants to just be strategically located on a larger location. And so that would be the drive-through. And we're putting in an institution, knock on wood, that we do sign the lease, and we hope that that's going to happen. If that happens and we announce that, announce the two other LOIs, hopefully that will ignite like a grass fire all the way to our bigger building. But we start small because of that labor issue. We start small and because we got the smaller contractors that can do it. And that's the redirection and our strategic plan there. I hope that
Carlos,
answers it.
sorry, if I may just add something which I think, and Commissioner Cruz, please correct me if I'm wrong, that it seems you seem to be asking, how did we go from this kind of monstrous infrastructure plan with a huge cost and requiring tons of labor to now being able to kind of build this out with the 3 plans and how we intend to get there, right? So
Yes,
I
thank
think
you for that clarification.
yeah, and I think, just because, as Carlos mentioned, I've been dealing with this tenant that we're very close to executing the lease with. So we didn't change kind of the goal, but definitely changed our plan to get there. So while we did initially have a plan to complete all of the infrastructure for the entire commercial center. Realistically, because of COVID, because as Carlos said, we had to deviate from the big box tenant structure. But we did have this financial institution that was very interested, that has engaged, a mainland designer to kind of, to kind of draw out their plans for what they want to be a landmark location. What we did was we kind of revisited our plans, and we had to kind of reduce the size of things. For example, okay, let's just do a smaller meter here to build out this one pad. So for example, we're starting with them. We're very close. As he mentioned, we've really negotiated all the basic terms, rents, the lease term, lease options. And in addition to that, they're also going to pay for the cost of the pad. So we don't have to undertake that financial burden, but of course there are some associated costs that we'll have to cover in order to get, they'll get their pad ready. We're doing the work, they're paying us to do that. But of course, the street light, for example, or just kind of the related spaces, or the, I guess, proximate spaces that we'll cover. So we're actually finalizing our plans for kind of a smaller infrastructure and just really looking at what's absolutely necessary to get this tenant up and going. And then of course, as Carlos said, the other two. So I think that's, I know we've been here before, obviously, but I think now we actually are at the starting line. We do have, we're very close. And some of the delay was just kind of figuring out, finalizing what that space is. So it's 4,300 square meters that we're doing, and they're going to have a 6,000 square foot building on their lot, which is at the corner. And like Carlos said, it's a well-established Guam institution. We're hoping that incentivizes the other tenants, potential tenants who are committed by letters of intent at this point to actually move forward, and then hopefully want the same kind of pad ready property. And we'll work out that whether they're going to amortize the cost of that over the term of the lease, or a portion of the lease term, or just pay it up front. We're hoping that we can manage it that way. So we're still trying to get there. It's, of course, because of, the different obstacles that Carlos has identified, it's taken us a while. And then COVID, we took, that huge hit, as everyone did. But I think we're just really asking for the additional time so that we can manage our resources, but to really get this off the ground, which we, still, like he said, believe in it. We're, still kind of have the vision for it, but we just definitely have to get there through kind of more conservative steps, manage the labor, and the cost as well. But, we think this, which hopefully is happening soon, it's with their legal department. So we're just hoping that once we get this signed, that generates the interest and actually kind of becomes more real for everyone, and, attracts, of course, additional tenants. So I just wanted to add that. And I apologize, I have to get into another meeting, but I just wanted to add that to just kind of give you an update specifically on that tenant that we've been discussing, we've been negotiating with since early this year.
Okay, so just Masi, Jennifer Calvo. Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to
Carlos,
meet
I'd
you.
like to bring up some of the discussions we had in the past regarding, basically we've talked about the predicament that Ancestral Lands is in right now with regard to our audits and with the OPA and our audits. We're concerned about how it's going to look if things fall apart per se. We had different discussions on it. I want to see what how Gita, what is your take on the matter, and how do you see things with it, and what's your recommendation with Carlos' request? And oh, by the way, Carlos, you're asking for an extension. Are you planning to make maybe a deposit or another some down payment? Is that
Well, that's why I referenced the phrase on my impact on my other industry businesses, that, if we weren't hurting from all of my other businesses, if you remember in the beginning, we were making some payments, but because of all the other impacts, and the impacts could be quantified. That's what I want to bring up. I know the audit shows that we have a large arrears, but the key word is deferred. We're not asking for forgiveness, like during the COVID situation when everybody's asking for forgiveness, right? I can't speak on the $50 million program that this government's giving out to help the businesses. They have a forgiveness aspect to it, right? right?
Right.
As I hope they carried it on to every government entity, but I'm only smiling about that. But I know that the key word's only deferred, right? With that interest expense that's accruing to it. Of course, unfortunately, our strategic development growth is very small stages because we still got the labor impact, and we're only doing the smaller footprint and hoping we can grow from there. And that's why the key word is deferred, right? Now, if our other businesses has financially recovered, and I'm surplusing in my other side of the equation, definitely we'll put some money in because that's what we're doing. But we're trying to sell every LLC we're trying to self-sustain itself, right? Normally that's what we do in our businesses. My restaurants that were hurting like crazy did not grab and pull any money from my housing projects, right? Because my housing project was hurting because tenants wasn't paying, that kind of stuff. So at that time, every angle was hurting. So that's why we had to redirect the concept. We can't keep doing this for a long time. What can we do? And that's why, fortunately, we had that. While you granted us the deferment, and we appreciate that, we had to sit back and look at and I hate to keep using this word because I don't know if I'm violating any commercial rights, but a pandemic immune type industry so that we can redirect our development, says, okay, guys, this is what we got. Unfortunately, we were able to, at least on the 3 pads, get some bites. And one of them is one, like Jen Calvo said, our general counsel, we've been negotiating the last 5-6 months. And finally, we're down almost to the wire to.
Okay,
who's-
Carlos,
yeah.
yeah, real quick. Yeah, man, I mean, we definitely see of course, it's right before us, the whole economic situation, even prior to the pandemic. We've, especially with us on the board before, we've seen the impact of the shortage of the H2 workers and then the economic downturn. And then of course, this with the pandemic and, the whole economic, atmosphere and landscape is different right now. Now, with regard to the board, we're kind of weighing out whether, because, okay, you're right, it's a deferment. And so we want to get the take on it and how it would impact us if, let's say, we gave you another year extension. And then let's say, because of the way the economic thing is, you default on this and you can't really pull it through, because of just the situation got worse. And it's just, we just want to see how would that affect us, because now it's not a deferment no more. It becomes a, a black eye.
Yeah,
It
that's
becomes-
a good point. You got those concerns, but I think with all in my side of the equation and my partners, we are rooted in Guam. We don't want to have a black eye and black name on potentially a failed project, right? So that's why strategically, because of what we've seen and the type of markets that are almost immune to any pandemic, and because the property is strategically located on the great location, we think, and we don't have a big square footage available. We think we can convince some people, and that's why we did convince 3 of the pads to come over, right? To come over finally. And one, like I said, one of them is a large lending institution, right? And 2 restaurant pads. So if we build that, those are solid names with cash flow. So once we announce those names and you see some earthwork, I think you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable that these anchor tenants and potential restaurant tenants that's been here historically long also, they're just probably relocating. I don't want to say relocating in certain areas, right? You're going to know at least that's stable. You're going to know that's stable.
Yeah. Carlos, we do want you to succeed. We don't want you to fail, of course. We want you to succeed. You've given a very good, information regarding to where you're at right now. Can we quickly get Gita's take on?
Before
this?
I do that, I just wanted to, I always like to listen back. So I was listening to all your assets that Gita manages that not everybody's behind, and none of them is commercial rental. A lot of them, I was just thinking, I may be wrong. A lot of them are related to the port industry. A lot of them are related to other almost immune type industries that are needed.
Yes, no, yeah, we're aware of that. We're understanding.
No,
we're
but I just wanted to
Yeah.
compare that because if for example, there was like doing an appraisal when you do a comparison and
Yeah.
30% of that.
We understand it. And thanks for putting it out again, bringing it up to, we know that those are different services that.
That's right. That's
No,
right.
Yeah,
I just
different
wanna-
services, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Gita, can we get your, a little bit of an input from you regarding Carlos's request for an extension?
Day. This
Hey,
is Mel.
Buenas, Mel.
Buenas. I hope everybody's doing well, and let me see. So, Carlos is accurate with, in his assessment of all of the different reasons for his request for deferment. Labor in the construction market continues to be an issue, not unrelated to H-2B. H-2B, of course, is an issue, but in general, labor shortages continue to be an ongoing issue with regard to construction. Of course, the pandemic, it's making people a little slower to pull the trigger. Not only local businesses as far as moving and build outs and things like that, but also investment from the outside coming in. And so his points are certainly valid. I think from the perspective of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, he did cite that he's asking for deferment, not forgiveness, and that's something that a lot of private landlords, what they've done is they've negotiated lower rental agreements, and that's not something he's asking for either. So we appreciate the fact that he's coming in with the ability or the desire to pay full rent just at a deferred type of period, right? So where we would be with regard to if you decided to terminate, you would still have to go out for an RFP to find another tenant. That in and of itself is a process, negotiating, et cetera. And any other prospective tenant to this land may likely be experiencing many of the same difficulties that Mr. Camacho is experiencing. So really it's the opportunity cost of, if you were to say, if you say yes, it's the opportunity cost. What are the available alternatives to you versus to saying no? What are the available alternatives to you? If you say yes, then you defer receiving monies, and nonetheless, you will still be owed these monies by a fairly well-diversified business. If you say no, then your alternatives are to go back out and look for another tenant, and the time that you lose in placing a tenant, an RFP process can be years, as you all know. So overall, we do support Mr. Camacho's request for deferment, and we will continue to work with him, and we can chase him down if need be. But this is a small community, so I don't think, it doesn't look like Mr. Camacho is going to up and leave anytime soon. He's very invested in the community. And so for this particular case, I think Gita is supportive of his request for deferment. But of course, we defer to your we defer to your viewpoint as a board and as a commission with regard to what's best for the commission. And so that's where Gita stands on Northern Market's request.
Just Masi, Melanie, and that was very well taken. For me, I'm only just concerned about the way it would look in our audits. I mean, that's a big concern, but I'm very happy that you came out and you made a full support for Carlos's project. I concur. But the board members, you have any questions? Any further questions? Are you comfortable with making a decision now? Board members?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, Vice Chair?
if I may, I am in support also with Mr. Camacho. And you know that that location is prime,
Yep.
especially with the buildup now with the general Blas. It will be, and that road there is General Ben Blas Boulevard. That's gonna be a very high money-making location there. So without further ado, if I may, I would move to support and defer Mr. Camacho's for his in his request.
And he's asking for almost a year, practically a year till November next year first.
Well, that's what the anticipated economic impact is going to take. So
Okay, so you have a motion? You're moving?
and yeah, the motion, and that in that motion, that if in the event that he does incur income at a sooner date, that he would apply the due payments, whatever he can.
Mr. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead,
we
Mr.
do have a we do have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Motion to approve Mr. Camacho's request for extension for the deferment till November 1st of 2022. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second on the floor from Jeffrey, Commissioner Rios. Discussion?
Okay, I would like to discuss. And in the
Okay.
event, Miss Melanie, if you, in the event you have an opportunity for Mr. Camacho, Northern Marketing, to please provide them the funding opportunities for his situation, because I know, same with me. I was caught into buying with the tourists too. I'm a tour guide and I'm an independent tour guide, but I don't meet that threshold of making $10,000, a year with you. So there's no program for me. But if you do have a program for me too, for the lower level, for the small guys, we're impacted too. So I feel for Mr. Camacho, and I'm glad that he's back and he made the effort to face us face to face, because we're like you said, we're a small community, and we need to stick together as a one WAM and one movement.
And Carlos, there was a little bit of a good faith mention in his motion about early payment or some payment if there was some feasible way in that 1 year.
Well,
Okay, so just wanted to point that out.
we've always been honest based on the events and all that. And if things turn around a lot quicker, and we're able to move forward, we're taking into consideration our liability, right? Our liability. So
Yeah.
if we are able to build the 3, and that's why I asked for earlier in my statement that a pro rata approach or any approach, but we're not asking for forgiveness, but we'll figure out, we'll work with Gita on how do we structure it, so at the end of the day, it's finally it becomes covered.
Okay, I understood. Commissioner Cruz.
We are still in discussion. I'd like to make it 6 months instead of 1 year. So we can see the progress of his, of his development on that property.
Okay, Commissioner Laguarnia has his motion is for 1 year, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Rios. She's asking for 6 months as opposed to a year. Input from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Okay,
you know,
Vice Chair?
I would concur with that, but, and then again, if this 6 months does expire, we can take again a look at it and see how our situation is after the 6 month period. Would
Carlos?
that be acceptable?
Commissioner Rios first.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cruz. I think it's a good idea. You know, it sounds like Mr. Camacho is real close to getting a signing going, and I think I'm hoping that 6 months is a good enough time to at least have a signing with the bank institution. That what I think ultimately would solidify this project, I think. And you know, I'm just happy to see you too, Mr. Camacho. We all heard about your health condition, so I'm glad you look great. So that's good. And I've always thought that, you know, if I was ever in a situation where my health was compromised for any reason, and I was in a situation like you are in, that someone would afford me the opportunity that you're asking for. And so you know, I think it's fair, Commissioner Cruz, to do the 6 months, but I'm hopeful that in 6 months that you'd have a signing with the bank institution, and that would easily put you in a better position and the whole project in itself. And I'm hopeful for that. You've done a lot for Guam, you know, and projects you've done in the past. So I'm hopeful. So I like the idea, Commissioner Cruz. Vice Chair, are you okay with that?
Okay, yes. Okay, if I may amend my motion to allow a 6 month deferment for Northern Marketing.
Are you okay with that, Carlos?
I was wondering, because the holidays is, you know, the November, December, and maybe you guys know this, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but throughout my decades of dealing with architects and engineers, they normally don't go back to work till they take a whole holiday off for 2 months, right? And I don't know, can anybody confirm that? Am I just saying that that's just just what I've seen in my lifetime in dealing with them?
Then you can
that's-
come back in 6 months and ask for another 6 months.
Okay, no, I was just thinking we can do, make it, to take away the holiday side and just say, make it 8 months and come back. I'm just asking. If not, 6 is okay. I'm okay with that.
May I? Carlos, may I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Camacho, Commissioner Camacho. Go ahead.
Carlos, would you be okay doing maybe quarterly progress reports to the commissioner? Should you be granted the 1 year initial request, coming back and giving us progress reports, and maybe at any time amend the 1 year? If things turn out.
That's a great idea. I would like that breathing room to 1 year, right? With the caveat of a quarterly report, so you see the progress. So instead of waiting 6 months for me to give you guys a progress, you'll get my quarterly report. By the time the second 3 months quarter report, you will know where we stand anyways, because at that time we should have probably already signed board member Rios said, we should already sign somebody, and hopefully the restaurant guys will sign some of them up. And then when we finally start those activity, we can, and the progress report, we can report when we think we are going to sign the lease and start generating some revenue for those 3 small pads. And that revenue will.
That sounds very good, Commissioner Camacho. That's a good suggestion. I'm for the year if it's and that quarterly updates and report. Vice Chair.
Yeah, okay, I agree. But one last word of thought there, Mr. Camacho. Will you guys consider bringing at least a mini Walmart or Lowe's? Or that bed and bath? What's that ever? You know, those stores that are very popular in the mainland. You know, those are generative, man. I'm telling you, every state of the union that I go, I go straight to Walmart, man. And those are, and I noticed that Miss Calvo is with you, and I'm not sure if they're affiliated.
Okay,
with that.
Vice Chair, you want to re-amend again your motion?
Yes, okay, I would amend my motion to allow the 1 year deferment to include the quarterly progress reports and to be reported accordingly.
Okay,
Is
we have
that
a motion
correct,
and he
Mr.
amended.
Camacho?
He amended his motion 1 year with quarterly reports. Are we good? We're still good with your second, Mr. Rios?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's seconded by Commissioner Rios. Any objections or any other thoughts on that matter, Commissioner Cruz?
Sorry, my 6 months still stays.
Or that's still your, okay. But we're good with the, we're good with the, any other discussions? No? Okay, well, let's take a vote. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye? Aye. Any nays?
Abstain. Nay.
Abstain? Okay, we have an abstention, but I do believe we do have a majority. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we do have a majority. Motion passes. Okay. Director?
Mr.
do
Chair,
have
yes,
a-
I've recorded that. Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes, and Carlos, good luck, and and good luck too with your health and with the Northern Market, and Sujus Masi for
And-
coming in.
And I love that quarterly report, and I finally could see a little light in the tunnel to give finally, other than just, like we had that many years of shortfalls of H2, COVID and all that. But like I said, we're redirecting, and I think we're gonna get some activity going. And once we report that quarterly, that'll be great news to finally see something happening. I want to thank everybody for your thoughts and your prayers, by the way. And I'll leave it as that before.
Okay.
I have a
Thank you,
question,
Carlos.
Mr.
Yes, Commissioner Cruz.
Are you going to be able to assign, if you're not able to make it for, let's say you come in for a meeting, or are you going to be able to assign someone to?
Yes, that's why I brought in the general counsel, so she's up to tune on the format and the processes and what happened. So
Okay, and Gita does have her contact number now, and
yes, she's been in the
Okay.
loop with Tony
Absolutely.
Ariola.
Thank you.
okay, very good. So
One
just
last
my-
And
question.
again, that's why
Wait.
I brought in the general counsel, so she can understand the flow and what we went through. But
Okay.
attorneys are always busy too, but I think she'll
Okay.
make sure whenever on the quarterly, she'll make sure they're.
Sujus Masi, Carlos, we're already at 5:04. I'm hoping I
Yeah,
can get a.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
one more question, Mr. Camacho.
okay.
It's just a word of information. Is that really a Don Quixote that's going to be here? Because I think it's a different name. It's Don Quinoni or something like that.
No, it's a Don Quixote. Don Quixote is
It is Don
the
Quixote.
Japanese shopping store.
Yes,
In
no, I
Japan,
know
yeah.
about it, but I thought the sign said something else, unless their
Oh,
contractor spell check that one, bro. 'Cause
Maybe
it said
spell
Don- Yeah, it said Don Quixote or something like that. It didn't say Don Quixote. It was
Okay,
a wrong spelling.
Okay.
okay, we're gonna
Thanks,
move,
Vice
we're
Chair.
gonna move on. We're
Okay.
moving on.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
Gita,
Thank
I
you.
know
Thank you,
Gita,
Carlos.
we're on your final, your progress report. Are you, that completes your progress report, or did we miss anything?
No, that's all of it, Mr. Chairman.
So just Masi, can we move on to old business with the real quick on the update with the MOU?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, yes.
There was the RFP
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's
for
right.
Polaris Point.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
you need to take action.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Cruz. Appreciate that. So, you've got one tenant that answered, or basically answered for the Polaris. Is that what I was reading? One tenant? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Not several?
No, we received one, right, Tony?
Tony?
I'm sorry, can you
Tony,
repeat? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
we can hear you.
We received one respondent
tenant.
for the RFP.
Wow. Is it for the whole piece or
Yes,
for the
actually,
whole
yes.
thing? Wow, okay.
But
Sounds good.
we're requesting commission's approval to
Negotiate?
notify them and to begin negotiations. It is an
Okay.
existing company on Guam and it's a reputable one.
Okay, sounds good. Do we need to make a motion for it or how?
Yes,
We need-
to
Okay.
allow Gita to notify the vendor of the evaluation results and to proceed with lease negotiations. And then
Okay.
after the lease negotiations, we need to come back to you, to the commission, to get your approval. So this is just the start. We will come back to you later.
Okay. I know you can't reveal too much information regarding the what's happening with the but with the issues with the the toxic stuff. That's basically what you're going to be going into work out and negotiate with, correct? Also.
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. Okay. Can we get a motion on the floor to approve?
My lord. It's still.
We need a motion to have Gita move forward to notify the RFP. There's only one right now, so that they're gonna move towards negotiations.
Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Commissioner Camacho.
Motion to approve and allow Gita to negotiate with the one, Gita, what is it called? They're interest,
They're an offer.
an offer. To negotiate on behalf of Guam Ancestral Lands, on the offer for the Polaris RFP.
Okay, motion on the floor to approve Gita's request to notify the bidder and to start negotiations. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? No discussions? Okay, we move to a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Gita, you got
Thank you,
your approval.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board.
Okay,
Thank you so
and
much.
I guess the other one had no bids on it, so that kills that. Okay, anything else, Mike, regarding your report?
Not from my end, Tony,
Tony, nothing else?
Nothing else. That
Here.
completes everything.
or
Okay, so just
No.
Marcy, can we move towards the MOU status and then close real quick? I know we're past five, guys. We're past
Yeah.
five. It's
Okay.
5:09 right now.
In closing, I want to thank Gita for their presence and Director Melanie for joining us. Thank you.
Well,
No,
actually, we're gonna get a quick update on that MOU.
Okay.
Okay,
The MOU, would
possible.
you allow me to share screen, please?
sure, of
Okay,
course.
okay, let me see. I will wait for you to allow me to share screen. Half a day and good afternoon, good evening, Director Birch and commissioners, Mr. Chair. Let me see if I can, maybe Miss Maria, Amar, can I, or
There
Director
you
Birch,
go.
right?
You
Do you have
should be able to
control?
share now.
All righty. Okay, here we go. So
Okay.
since our last meeting, we went ahead and we drafted up an MOU. What we did was we went through it here at the Gita team. We can provide it to you for your feedback. But I wanted, before we kind of start going back and forth with the lawyers, I wanted to present it and break it down for the commissioners so that you understand exactly what we're getting into. and where we're going from here, right? And so I'm just going to share screen with the MOU. And so can you see this third amendment up to the MOU between GITA and Guam Ancestral Lands
Yes.
Commission?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so first off, this is the third amendment. So there have been other amendments. I believe the other amendments were when you added properties to the, to the GITA management portfolio, et cetera.
Why would it be an amendment? Why wouldn't it just be a separate MOU? I'm just asking.
Oh, I guess, well, for us, our position was that there's one agreement between us and you to cover a variety of different items. And so since it's all the same players, it's all the same counter signatures, same people reviewing. So we figured we just cover it all in one shot. There's no overlap between the, covering land and then covering investments. The overlap is the leadership, not necessarily how we transact the business. We can certainly do it as a separate MOU if that be your
Okay, but
preference.
how does it affect the term of the MOU?
It doesn't, because remember with the MOU, you can terminate both of our MOUs. I believe there's the ability to terminate at just about at any time with notice. And so with this one, what we were thinking was 1 year, you should be able to same thing. You should be able to terminate at any time.
Oh, okay, understood. Continue.
Okay.
We're good with it.
And so,
I appreciate that. Okay.
Our thoughts on this are going into this. I wanted to stress the importance of, remember, when it comes to managing the investment portfolio, the ideal circumstance is that the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission is up to speed to the point where that you can take care of this yourself. So GITA is here to assist, and then eventually, when there is the capacity, both within the commission itself, as well as with the staff at the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, that they should be able to eventually handle this themselves. And so that's the point. If you recall the last month's presentation that I made, I said, the first year or two we work with you, there's a lot of training involved. And then you sit on the committee, and then eventually you guys run this all yourself. And that's kind of what we continue to, the lens with which we continue to view it. So what we're looking at here is obviously we know that Guam Ancestral has the desire to maximize trust returns in the land bank trust through investment discipline and risk management for the beneficiaries of the trust. So what that means is you'd like to make more money, or you'd like to maximize the return on investment on the account, but at the same time manage and mitigate risks that occur when entering into any type of investment. And so in order to do that, you're going to work with GITA, and GITA will provide assistance in developing an investment policy statement. And so the investment policy statement, just to remind all of you, is the contract that says, these are the things we want to invest in. These are the things that are outside of our scope. So for example, you might say in the IPS, we like stocks, we like bonds, we like cash, we don't like gold, or we don't like Bitcoin, or whatever. Or you can say we do like those things, right? That's what an IPS basically states. Assisting GALC in establishing an investment portfolio that shall be managed by GITA over the course of this MOU. So again, the investment portfolio at first, what would happen is you would develop your own IPS, a member of, or rather, you would work with us, generally designating a commissioner or director Birch to work with us on our investment committee. And we develop your IPS, we develop your core investment portfolio, and then providing training, coordinating training, not necessarily us providing it directly, but we can certainly provide some training ourselves on how we do things, but then bringing on professionals, coordinating professionals to come in and provide training to you as fiduciaries in managing your investment portfolio, providing quarterly updates to GALC on the status of the investment portfolio. The reason why we say quarterly rather than monthly is because when you have your money invested in something, you don't want to flip-flop every single week and every single month just based on how the market's doing. You really want to stay the course. And so in a lot of situations, so generally 3 months is what's advisable, a quarterly update, as opposed to a monthly update. Having said that, every single month, you can have a balance available. So you can say every month, your investments are worth this much. But really what's going on in the market and all of that, that can be done quarterly without, so that you, in the interest of saving time. and do all things necessary to carry out all of these objectives. So this talks about retain and utilizing experts, advisors, consultants, and legal counsel. So I know that one of the interests of the commission has been to look into various types of investments. You had Pure Stone, for example, recently that reached out to us. So when you're working in a situation like that, let's say you're exploring the idea of investing in an individual company, you probably need an accountant to weigh in about business valuation. You need legal counsel drawing up potentially certain types of documents. So all of those sorts of things, we would work with you as well as other professionals. So in order to carry this out, let's see, cooperation by the trust, etc. Oh, so as far as Gita's, the cost to doing this, so similar to how we do your land, so similar to how we manage your land and your real property, and charge, like a property management fee, there is an administrative fee. We're looking at 0.75, so 0.75% of the total assets. So it's less than 1% to be assessed against assets under management. Okay, and this is to be net of any investment advisor or other professional fees. So for example, if you hire a very specific type, let's say you hire a CPA to do some assessment for you on an investment, and they charge an hourly rate, you would reimburse in a similar way that you reimburse Gita for putting out an ad for your RFP or whatever it is that we might be doing. Okay. As far as where did we come up with the 0.75 of assets under management? Currently, so I have some experience at the UOG Endowment Foundation. They charge 2.75% annually of assets under management. So let's say you have a scholarship at UOG and your scholarship account is $100,000. Then the Endowment Foundation charges 2.75, and that's their management fee to do all the things that we're kind of doing for you. But my thought was, number one, it's for our people, it's for the beneficiaries of the trust. But number two, our objective here is not to make money off of you guys. Our objective here is to take care of our expenses here and then eventually hand it off back to you. So, not something that we see as a long-term strategy for Gita, although we'll do this as long as you need us and support you as long as you need us.
Wow, amazing.
So let's see, easy peasy. And that's pretty much it on the MOU. So what will go from where this would go from here is that we'd have our respective attorneys take a look. And then once you enter into the MOU, well, even concurrent with the MOU, I would still recommend that you talk among yourselves with regard to who you'd like to represent the commission in the investment committee, so that we can invite them and set up a meeting with our investment committee in the coming weeks. And so, I would say, like I said, at minimum, maybe one commissioner and Director Birch would be my recommendation. Of course, if more than one person is interested, if two people are interested, then we'll do two. It's really up to you guys. So any questions?
Wow, that's great. That's a great MOU. I mean, you sure 0.75%?
Yeah, 0.75% of the total assets. Now, mind you, if it's a total, let's say it's $10 million, that's $75,000 annually that goes to Gita. So, so if the idea is if you get 5% of interest, 5% return, right, on $10 million, that's $500,000, right?
Yeah.
So $500,000. Generally, an investment, if you worked with Merrill Lynch or Raymond James or any of our the folks we work with are Raymond James and Bank of Guam Investment BGIS is what they're called. They generally charge 1% on the assets, so they'll still charge their 1%. Okay. Right. And then if you have any direct expenses, that would be reimbursed. So, putting out any special RFPs or any other professionals you'd want to engage. And then the 0.75 again would be for Gita for the reporting, the administrative, and the ongoing support for the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. So yeah, that's what we think would work for us.
Very good. I know that, hey, Melanie, I really appreciate it. That was fantastic. It's 5:20 and I don't want to put anybody, I know it's after 5, and director, your staff, maybe what we can do, because legal counsel still needs to look at this.
Yep.
I'm
So I
not
think-
sure if we can, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think you need to vote on anything today. I think what we can do is we'll circulate it back and forth between our parties. And then if you have any
Yes.
input between now and let's say next commission
Next
meeting,
meeting, yes.
then just share that with Mr. Cruz or myself or Diego, or Director Birch. And we can reflect, we can certainly reflect all those changes. So this is the framework of where we want to go from here. And then, of course, and if you want to volunteer somebody like Commissioner Camacho or Commissioner Laguatnia or Commissioner Cruz, whomever wants to put their hand up for this, you let us know. It's a fun time at GITA always.
Sounds good. Let's okay, let's get that a copy of that MOU to each of the commissioner members. We have time to review it and ponder it until our next meeting, and then I'm sure you're sending a copy of it to our legal counsel, right?
Yes.
Unless I think he has it already, then he can review it, and then hopefully at the next meeting we can make a quick decision.
Yes, most
And-
certainly, Mr. Chair.
Hey, thank you so much. Any questions for her real quick for Melanie and Gita? No more questions? Okay, hey, Sejus, Maasi, Melanie, Gita, thank you for the report. Let's see if we can move on to the next item on the agenda would be Director, I think we already went through your report.
covered,
Unless you have something
yes.
else to,
No,
We-
we
we-
covered everything
covered-
in my report.
yeah, we covered everything. Okay, public comments?
Mr. Chair, no one has requested any to make any public comment.
Okay, so let's move to our next date would be Director for our next meeting.
I believe, let me find my calendar, it would be December 1st.
December 1st is our next meeting.
Yeah, and the reason for that, that'll be the first Wednesday of the month, but I wanted to push things, remembering what occurred last year when several of the commissioners preferred not to have meetings during the holiday season. For the next meeting to be December 1st, and for the second meeting in December will be December 15th. And
Okay,
we'll be able to have the 2 meetings you prefer during the month, keeping us away from
from the
Christmas.
holidays.
From the
Okay, very
holidays.
good. Okay, so our next meeting is on December 1st and December 15th. We're gonna adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Gita, Director, staff. Joey, it's great that you're looking good. I wanted to say something in the beginning, man. I'm glad that you're fully recovered. You look like you're awesome. Okay, everybody, adios, commissioners.
I think you need a motion first.
we
Rather
need
than
a
from the
motion.
chair.
A motion to adjourn? No motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn from Commissioner Camacho. It's 5:23. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Adios.
you, everybody. Adios.
Adios.